Members, oh,
Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay.
okay. We'll call the meeting to order. We have actually 5 members of the commission. Dan Byer, myself, Lynn Roberts, I'm chair, Kathy Schofield, we have Connie Beale, and we also have Janice Muldoon-Moores, who is actually online as well. What we're going to take things a little bit out of order. Hopefully we can get through this fairly rapidly. So what we would like to do is 2 public hearings were actually scheduled at the same time. The first one is for the Historic Resource Inventory Review, and the other is for public hearing for 8 Hartford Ave West, which is, I'll read the notice, but we're actually going to do Hartford Ave West first, because that I think will be quicker. So we have notice is hereby given under the Town of Mendon General Bylaws, Chapter 33, Section 4.2 of the Demolition Delay Public Hearing to consider the demolition of a 10 by 12 addition to the main house located at 8 Hartford Ave West, Mendon. The hearing is scheduled for this evening, 7 p.m. to take place at the Mendon Town Hall. So I think if we'd like to, we have
There's the applicant here for that.
the applicant here. Okay, so would you like to come forward?
What's your name?
Randy Smith.
Grace.
Okay, we have detail on the property.
Yeah, so it's what I sent you, and now if you have anything to add, it sounds like you're looking to just take down an addition as part of the house that. That's as far as. So you don't-
Yeah, just remove the addition and put a new one up. So the foundation leaks. So anytime we get significant rain, it comes inside the house. So I talked to John Erickson and he said it shouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay, when was do we have detail on the actual house? The house is what age?
Built in 1950, the house.
The addition or the?
The addition from my records looks like it's around 1980. They put it on after the fact.
Okay, we don't,
Dan, did you have supporting documents?
So the house, yeah, just the applications. The house is built in 1950, so it does not meet the 75-year standard, but it is on the inventory list, which is why we're here.
right,
And at least from looking at the pictures, I mean, it looks like it's all been sided. Doesn't really, I mean, the house actually didn't look that old. So. That's, as I'll be all.
I mean, obviously, the addition doesn't meet any of these criteria, and the house itself as well doesn't.
Let me just check. The Hartford Ave West, Daniel H. Barnes to John B. Saunders, looking at deed search. Dalton Matthewson, Dalton, O'Brien, Kearsley. So that doesn't necessarily, go
No,
back that
You
far.
didn't have anything for it, did you, Kevin?
No, I did not.
Actually, that predates the house, not the land.
Right,
John B. Sanders, a single man boarding at the home of Ruthie Matthewson. So yeah, I don't think there's anything of significance. You know, the house as a whole, but certainly not. the-
but not the addition,
I
right.
mean, yeah, we're just addressing. the-
Yeah. Janice, Connie, did either of you have anything to add in with this request for the demolition of this addition? Connie?
I don't have anything to add. It looks fine to me.
Okay, Janice?
No.
Nothing. Okay. Then I think we should vote.
Yeah.
Take a vote.
I will
Can
make a
somebody
motion to approve the demolition of the porch or the addition located at 8 Hartford Ave. Did I get that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, and we will take a vote. So Kathy,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Lynn, aye. Kat, Connie,
Aye,
Janice?
yes,
Okay, motion is carried. You are approved for that demolition. As far as historic is concerned, as you know, you now have to go to the planning board and get your, the building.
Yeah, I've already been in communication with John.
Perfect, okay, we have no issues.
Yep, the only thing, so there is a hearing fee for that, which I'm trying to look it up, they didn't send it to me yet. It's the cost of legal ad and the cost of mail.
Yeah, because you had emailed me, there was no,
Yeah, that's, you know what, the system triggered it automatically, and I had to put a dollar amount in, so I loaded the system.
yeah, just send me an email with it.
I think it's gonna be $150, I think they are. And then when you, just so you know, when you apply for the permit, it will get flagged, then it'll come to us and we'll.
Here we go.
That's all built into the system.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay. We'll do, I think we should move forward with the, so first off, we need to close the public hearing for,
Yeah.
for that item. Can I have a motion to close the hearing?
Move.
Second, then,
Yep, sorry, second.
that part of the meeting, the public hearing is closed. I think nobody really wants to sit and listen to discussions on any of our other items, well, they can if they would like to. But we will review and consider any minutes afterwards. Any new business, this will be the public hearing, and then old business will continue after.
Yeah, that was.
Yes? All in agreement?
Yeah.
No, good. Okay. So,
I'll move to open the public hearing for historic inventory review. Notice is hereby given under amended general bylaws, chapter 33, section 3.1.1 of the proposed amendment to historic resource inventory list. A public hearing will be held to consider the removal of the following list of properties from historic resource inventory. I'm not going to read all 20 of these unless you really want me to. And I think we're going to go through them one at a time.
Yes.
Hearing is scheduled for tonight. It's open to the public. Public comment will be permitted. It will be held in hybrid format. We've got people online. I will say, I'll do my best if there's like a raise hand function in here. I might not see it right away if you put it in the chat, but we'll try and pay attention to that.
yep,
And then those unable to attend can submit written comments. We did get one comment, and there's a property on here that did not formally apply, that got put on here by mistake.
is that 205?
Providence.
Okay.
So I don't think we will get into that unless someone's here and really wants to talk about it. But I think if they certainly wants to
Hear
apply.
all right? Can everyone hear okay? Or not? Sometimes the mics work.
Well, sometimes they do, and sometimes.
Well, there's no PA in the room unless I turn it on, which I can do, but it feeds back.
Yeah, don't do
So I can try.
If at any point you can't hear, just like raise your hand and we'll address it.
Keep talking.
Okay. So in order for everybody to be aware, I think that after we sent out the initial letter, it was brought to our attention that some people didn't actually understand what this whole inventory idea was all about. And there was some confusion that this was a way of the town kind of trying to control your house, trying to control your land. That's absolutely not true. That's the last thing that we want to do. What the idea of it was that we actually have a list of houses. We have lost, how many houses have we lost from the 1800s? We lost 3 years, 3-4 years. It's got to be 20 plus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when anybody talks about historic Mendon, there isn't quite so much historic anymore left. You know, we've got the town hall and we've got a few buildings around. One of the main problems is we don't actually know what we have because we can't always guarantee that all of our information comes from the assessor's records. They're not always correct either. And we find that out when we send out a letter to everybody and say, you know, your house was built in 1949, and we get people come back and say, no, it's not, it's 63. You go, huh? Because the way that things are recorded differ. And in Mendon, a lot of our records follow the land and the buildings that were on the land. Some of the houses have been taken down, new properties put up, but the original record still exists as being on that original property. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we have a complete inventory of the properties. And that was why the letter went out. And the second one, I'll just read some of this just to clarify. We said, as a reminder, the main purpose of the list is carrying out the provisions of the updated demolition delay bylaw. Hopefully, most everybody has had an opportunity to go online and actually read that bylaw and see how it applies to you and your property. The inclusion on this list does not restrict any improvements or modifications you may make to your property other than demolition. So we are not going to be knocking on your door saying, excuse me, you can't paint your house purple. No, that's not what this is about. Other than demolition of your property, if it meets any of the criteria of the demolition delay bylaw, we leave you alone. That's it. You do whatever you want to do. This is not putting you in an historic district. In order for you to be in an historic district, that requires a vote at a town meeting, and it's a whole proposal process, as we've just done for Washington Street, where you have a certain number of people that live in historic homes that would like their homes to be protected for future generations. So they worked with us so that we could put together an historic district. Different sets of rules apply, and there's different protections in an historic district. If you live in an historic district and your home is 1930, 1950, 1820, you're all classified as the same. You are part of the district, whether your home is historic or not, because you live in that district. If you do live in a district, your home will be included on the inventory list, because that is the way that process actually works. So we said here, the purpose of the list is to identify buildings or structures which meet the definition of historically significant and are subject to further review before proposed demolition. If you're not planning to demolish your property, then this will not affect you. You can read more about the bylaw if you go on the Mendon Mass /demo website. We also use this list to inform our efforts to document and preserve Mendon's rich history through education and outreach. At this hearing, you're going to be asked to supply reasons why you do not feel your home doesn't meet one or more of the 4 criteria. If anybody wants me to go over the 4 criteria, I will, but I think most everybody has seen it. Like I said, just to repeat, if your property is located within an historic district, it's not eligible for removal. At the conclusion of the hearing, the Commission will make a final determination to either remove the property from the list or take no action, meaning the property will then remain on the list. The current listing is available on our website, and we will mail a notice of our determination to you at the conclusion of the hearing, and we'll put an updated listing in the new year. This list, by the way, obviously, one of the key items is the age of the property. So this list has to be continually reviewed and updated per the bylaw every year. Doesn't mean you are going to have to come back every year. If your house is, if you feel that your house doesn't meet the requirements, it doesn't mean you're going to have to come back every year. But obviously, we are looking at houses that are 75 years old. Every year, that's going to bring in a new batch of houses. So, that makes sense? Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we start? Yes.
I looked online, I didn't see the districts. Is that online, which streets are on the district?
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
separate, there's a website for the district commission. That has those on it.
We currently only have, well, we have the centre district, which is the district outside, which is Maple, Main, Hastings. And now we have Washington Street, and we also do have one individual house currently that's on Millville Road, 40 Millville Road. And what's the number of the Bake Street? 6 Bake Street is the other district. You can have a district being one property. So what we're actually finding now is a lot of people that want to still preserve their property for future generations want to make their home a district, one house being a district. So we're going to hopefully see more of those. And this is just, it's not, I want to clarify, this is not about control. This is about preservation. This is so that in 10 years' time we can say, yeah, we've actually got a couple of houses that are from the 1700s, a couple from the 1800s without them just being wiped out. Okay.
I just want to add one more thing. As early as 1989, the state came in and identified the areas in the town that they felt were historically significant, something to keep an eye on. So a lot of what we are doing here is driven by what the state has kind of guided us to do, which is to make sure that you understand and know your inventory and, where possible, try to preserve, protect, or repurpose some of these older buildings so that they don't get wiped away. So, it's not anything, this is not a new phenomena that we, invented. It really is something that, some of you may find that your houses are on a mattress inventory, which was done by the state quite some time ago. North Avenue is recognized on the National Historic Register, so as well as Washington Street. So, you're not being singled out. This is just to make sure that we have everything in our purview so that we know, what to protect.
To protect, and also I think another thing is hopefully down the line, we are working to try and find ways not just to stop these houses being demolished, but actually encourage people to buy some of these older houses, renovate them, and we are working through different programs that are in the state that we may be able to get funds available. Obviously, we're not promising anything because we don't know, but we are investigating ways that maybe somebody, if they're living in an old home, rather than sell it or to somebody who's going to pay them, an outrageous amount of money for it, maybe we can actually help with funding that they can get a new roof or they can replace the furnace, pretty much like NASSAFE does for everybody. But we can actually focus that on historic homes. So, there's a lot of, I think what happened is people got a letter and said, oh my God, they put my house on the list. They're going to check what I'm doing. They're going to tell me what colour I can paint it and what I can do and what I can't do to the house. That's absolutely not the case. But what it will do is will give us a database that maybe we can contact you and say, look, these funds are available for everybody who's got a house before 1820. It's at this point, we need to have a registry of what there is because we've lost so many houses that all of a sudden someone comes in and sends us a note and says, yeah, we want to demolish this house. We have no idea that there's these problems with the house and said, people say, it's in dreadful condition. Well, we don't know that. So we're not sending anybody to your house to check up on you. We're not doing anything, but we need to have an inventory.
I would just add to just clarify that it's literally just a list of the address and age.
Right.
There's no contact information, no phone number, nothing. It's like just, contact you send letters.
Right, that would be the only way of contact. You're not going to be getting bizarre emails or phone calls or people knocking at your door.
You do have 2 online.
And?
Bruce.
Okay.
Yeah. You can.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think Bruce had his hand up first, if you don't mind, and then, well, yeah.
Okay, hi, it's Bruce Howell, 5 Joseph Road. So if I understand correctly, the issue is that the properties shown are either subject to the demolition delay bylaw or not. If they're removed from the list, they're not subject to the demolition delay bylaw. And that's just, I'm trying to understand what the actual impetus is for taking them off the inventory list.
Yeah, so maybe to go back, so the original demolition delay bylaw, effectively, every single property in town had to come before a historic if you wanted to tear it down. 2018 garage still had to come before a historic. And so as part of our efforts to kind of streamline and clean up that bylaw, the new bylaw says that the property has to be on this resource list. Otherwise, you go apply for your demo permit and that's their problem, we don't deal with it. So initially, we created a list of every property in town that was, according to the assessor's office, older than 1950. Which was, I don't know, more inclusive than necessarily the criteria in the bylaw, because there are a few properties that the age is a little bit nebulous that we need to do some research on. So, I mean, I think that's part of what the question is part of what we're going to discuss tonight is what the argument is for removing a property from the list. I think, a property may be old, but it might not meet these criteria of being associated with any specific point in history. And I think in the past we've had ones that have come before us that are just so unfortunately beyond far gone that there's just no historic value remaining. And then there's a few that, perhaps in 1948, 49, 50 that just simply aren't historic.
Not historic, but we had to
list
draw a
is-
line.
Right.
We had to draw a line somewhere, and 75 years was actually, pretty much where we went.
Sure. Okay. And so you're also, I think, Dan, you sort of alluded to my second question, which is you are developing some criteria for removal from the list, or do you have criteria developed?
So the criteria are the same criteria that have always been enforced for considering demolition delay. I don't read.
No, my question is not considering demolition delay, it's criteria for removal from the inventory list.
Right, so it's the same. Effectively, what we're doing tonight is this is the demolition delay hearing for these properties. If we don't feel they should be subject to any further review, then we're taking them off the list,
Okay.
which was an option we gave people. But if, for example, we feel a property meets one of these criteria and should be reviewed prior to demolition, then that would be an argument to keep it on the list. So it's kind of like an accelerated demolition delay hearing process that we basically streamline the process, give people an opportunity to exempt themselves now, or, at some point, if they wish to demolish the property, they can always come back later.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Makes sense, I don't know.
We've got a couple more.
And then, Dave?
Yes, hi, Dave Spence, 56 Milford Street. I was reading the info. It goes back between building and structures. Can a structure be considered a stone wall or something like that relative to the property?
No.
Let me read the definition
Yeah.
to verify that, unfortunately, I think.
No, but you'd have to understand that if the stone wall is actually on a scenic road, then yes, that would apply.
But that's totally.
But that's a totally different bylaw.
The definition of building or structure is any combination of building materials giving support or forming a permanent shelter for persons, animals, or property. If that hopefully answers your question.
Did that answer your question, Dave?
You said a scenic, could you just repeat the scenic road or?
No, so there is a set, you asked about stone walls. There is a separate bylaw, scenic road bylaw, that is actually going to be reviewed in time too. And if you go online and take a look at it, if you live on any of the streets in town that are designated a scenic road, and there's a list of, is it 20, about 20?
Yeah.
I think it's about 20 different roads. You cannot go and demolish a stone wall. You cannot go and take down trees. That's part of the bylaw that you cannot do that without actually going before the planning board and you would need a public hearing on that. So that we're trying to maintain not just some of the historic homes and barns and things like that, but the stone walls and some of these very old trees that we've got are protected as well. But that's not under this list or under this bylaw.
Does the town have a list of historic or scenic stone walls or streets that I could reference?
It's actually in the bylaw, Dave. If you go onto the town website.
Yeah.
It's and you look under the bylaws and you find the scenic road bylaw. It has a list of all the streets. And it will explain to you there what protects stone walls and trees.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Somebody have a question there?
There's one more on too.
No, I was just saying that, what assurances, if you put us on this list, you give us that the bylaws in this town are going to change, and then we are going to be restricted as to what we can do in the future.
Well,
that would, I think what you're thinking of is a historic district, which would require a town meeting vote.
Right, but most of the town's not historic, and they're going to be in favor of historic. So if we get labeled or lumped into this historic thing, and the town votes to change the bylaws, and we can't renovate our houses because the town voted to, and now basically the rules have changed.
I think
so right now the rules are.
This list does not change anything that could be done in the future. It doesn't make it more or less likely. If the town wanted to create a historic district, they'd have to go through that whole process.
Right now, you're doing this so that we can't demo our house.
Correct.
I get
well,
no.
It's limited to that.
No.
It's limited to that, but how do we know it's not going to get extended?
No,
to more?
This is not
only
saying you can't do that.
Is town meeting.
Right.
It starts from square one. Every single
So
property.
you saying that we would be kicked off the historical list immediately, and then you'd have to re-interview us to be put on the historical list, or are we still stuck on the historical?
I think we're explaining this not correctly. If those restrictions of the historic district is a completely separate process, it requires study reports, public hearings.
Right, we're not talking about historical, I'm not talking about historical.
Right.
I'm talking about you having to add my house to historical.
I don't believe the town can put any sort of those types of restrictions out without imposing a historic district.
But then again, if the town, but we're at the bylaw and the vote. So if the town decided that they wanted to make all historical houses to have restrictions and come through the historical commission, then the town votes for it, and then we could.
Right, I think that's the right council. I don't believe the town can do that. I think historic district is a very specific thing. It's under a specific state law. Demo delay, I'd have to go back and do the research. There's citations that back up.
I have a lot of clients in the city who have that happen to them, and they have been, the bylaws have changed, and they can't even replace a window without getting.
But those are historic districts. That's how that's done.
Not all.
I mean, I guess the answer to your question is to read the town meeting warrants and go to the town meeting.
Yeah, but my
this bylaw.
The point is the historical number of vote, people who have historical houses who don't want to see that restriction happen are going to be way outnumbered by people who live in subdivisions who aren't going to care about our historical,
I'm going to disagree with you on that completely. Because if you look at the number of people that live in historic homes in town, compared to the number of people that don't, when we've been implementing the historic districts that we've had, everybody has just come forward to vote for it. So, I mean, I don't think that anybody here is trying to restrict anything. And I think, there's different sets of standards that you have to go through. If you want to demolish your house currently, if it's an historic home, you've got to jump through everything. It has to come to us for a hearing. And, we have to do research. We have to do deed research. It becomes a matter of, we have to work together to try and find out how many houses have we had that we've let go, because even though they're historic in terms of age, they don't meet the rest of the criteria. So these people go and talk to anybody who's worked with us where they've had to take down a hut.
But I think this is the same discussion we had at the last meeting, and we're thinking about it backwards.
We are.
What we're here to talk about tonight is the option to remove houses from that list. Prior to this bylaw change, every single house in Mendon was
on the list.
Invisible list. We just now created that there's a visible list, and now it's only 400 properties that are subject to demo delay bylaw instead of all 2,000. And then the option tonight is to explore if some of these should be removed because, you know, they're not worthy of further preservation efforts. That's really all we're doing tonight. Certainly, town bylaws can always change. That's, you know, I think that's a totally separate process. I don't think what you do tonight really changes that at all, whether it's old or not. I mean, if the house is built in the 1800s, it's likely going to be looked at in the future for some sort of preservation if that's the direction things go. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't want anybody to sit there thinking that in one way or another, this is punitive, because it's not. There is no punishment to be on this list.
There isn't
Likewise.
now, but there could be if the law is changed. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean,
And you know, that's
That's
a
all I'm
good,
saying.
yeah, and that is a could be, but for all you know, I mean, the town could develop a bylaw that all of a sudden decides to, I don't know, something ridiculous, you know, everything in town that isn't painted blue can be demolished. It's one of those things that if you believe in it and you want to make sure that your house isn't subject to a change in the bylaw, then you need to go and vote at town meeting. You need to get support and find out what's going on. Talk to people. I mean, that's the way the bylaws are changed, is, you know, they're not sprung on you. You have an opportunity at any time to go and actually discuss it with whatever board it happens to be. But this is not a punitive thing. This is not, I don't know, it kind of got away a little bit that just being on the list, this is going to make it easy for you because if your house isn't on the list, you don't have to worry about it, to being that there's some kind of punishment there, that we're keeping a record on what you're doing and we're not.
I think if anything, too, the intent of this was to limit the scope of historic involvement, not to expand it. You know, there are certainly going to be future districts we may look at. That, but I think there's, you know, because it's a compelling argument for a, you know, a real historic area in town, and that'll be up to the district commission. But I think for us,
This gentleman's had his hand up for quite a while. Yeah.
It's my understanding, I've done quite a bit of restoration work,
Mhm.
and it's my understanding that once you get put on the historic register, then you have to go through a lot of different processes. You have to match the existing wood. If you're changing wood, you have to.
Yeah.
FEMA makes you put brass tags on any replacement piece of wood or trim or anything in order to keep the historic value of it.
but what you're talking about is in Massachusetts is a historic district, which is not what this is. Your property being on the state or federal register is just that. It doesn't have any power in terms of what you can and can't do with your property under state law.
The National Historic Register is an honorary a designation. It doesn't control your property. If you look it up on, you know, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts website, it is just a way to identify what should be considered a value in the community.
And I think it's worth pointing out, because this has come up a lot with the district, the intent is to look at individual properties that are interested in becoming individual districts, because they want those protections. But we have talked about the North Ave. Other than that, I don't think there's really many areas in town that make sense to make districts, because they're all individual
Yeah,
houses.
and I think-
all new.
And I think also, I agree with you. I've heard instances where that happens too. I think it depends on the town. I think it depends on whether the house is in a district. I think it depends on what significance that house has to the town. And if there's a preservation restriction on it. If there are anything like that, I mean, this is what, when people live in historic homes, they obviously want to keep it historic. That's why they bought the house. But in instances like that, I mean, go through the local historic district study that we have online. In the local historic district, we don't have any of those restrictions currently. And to the best of my knowledge, I mean.
Currently is the word that is very
Well-
challenging.
Well, and that's at that point, if something like that happens, then you would contact the relevant, I mean, the local historic district commission would be the people that you, if you live in a historic district, they would be the ones to actually talk to about that. But We don't have anything like that. If you look at the thing, I mean, we looked, I was on the original study commission for doing that. And it's amazing to me, if you live in certain areas in Lexington, in Concord, in Amherst, all these different places where they have local historic districts, they are so strict about what you can and can't do. We are not. We want to preserve that, but they also have these wonderful, houses, these big houses like the Comstock House, like, that's not Mendon. If you look at the historic homes we have in Mendon, they're farmhouses. They're not the same. Drive through the houses in Hopedale in the historic district. We don't have them. We have farmhouses. And the majority of these houses that we've lost are because they're farmhouses that are on 25 acres of land, and someone comes in, buys the house, rips it down, and then puts up a subdivision. I mean, this is, different towns work in different ways. I can't predict what's going to happen. If I could, I'd win the lottery tomorrow. I have no idea what's going to happen. All I can say is if you have concerns like that, talk to the boards, go and join the board. You live in a historic home, join the historical commission, join the local historic commission, district commission. If you have those kind of concerns, and I can only say currently, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but we have and I can say this absolutely hand on heart, we have no plans to do anything like that.
So
it's not within our power to do.
Is it my understanding, if you're not in the historical districts of the town, then you can opt out a lot easier than if you were?
So the provisions of this bylaw apply by default to every property in a historic district, which is no different than it was before town meeting when they applied to every single property in town. We just removed a chunk of them with the change. So, again, it's become less onerous. So a year ago, if you wanted to tear your house down, you had to have a demolition design review by historic.
Up to a certain age though, wasn't it?
Nope, every single property in town.
Really?
That was one of our big problems.
That was a big
Stuck in
problem,
front of us, that it was a waste of everyone's time. And really, part of this was to provide a mechanism, and we can even nominate things to be removed from the list, which I think eventually we need to start looking at. Because I don't necessarily think all these later houses are of the same value.
But it's not the
really
same value,
was
it's
to
just
use this to identify the houses that were worthy of having demolition delay review versus not. And really all that is saying you have to wait 6 months. That's the only power we have for 9 months now. It's just to try and put a little bit of a stop to say, hey, maybe we can keep that house and build a subdivision, or maybe there's opportunities. Unfortunately, a lot of times when these houses are in commercial, there's nothing to be done.
Nothing we can do, no.
And I think, if you watch the news or, could ask around, a lot of communities do that, a lot of it is to try to save what is of value, historical value, and bring in, subdivisions and find a way to get them to complement each other. The total inventory for Mendon in historic homes is 270, I believe, and falling. So we don't have a lot left. The town dates back to the original settlement. It is the second oldest town in Worcester County. We have, there was 8 families that came up here and settled the land, and then returned after, we had conflicts, and we had homes that, belonged to Revolutionary War soldiers and captains, and, those are dropping on our landscape. And it's just a way to take an overview, be educated, and make some decisions, and, help, you as a community as well, probably don't want to see everything disappear. So, how do you maintain that character and, bringing growth and development? So that's, that's the aim.
I think there's one more online, and
Okay.
I think I'm assuming that's Lori's suite.
I don't know.
Right here.
You got that right, yeah. It's Laurie Sweet. Bob and I own 44 Milford Street, which is on the historic resource inventory. And our property does not meet any of the 4 guidelines, the criteria that you put forth, it's not 75 years old or older. It's from 1949. It's not a building or structure.
Sorry, I think we should wait and talk
Yeah,
individual
Laurie,
properties.
if you don't mind, we're going to be doing individual properties. This is really just more like an introduction to what we're actually just going to be going through, rather than discussing individual properties at the moment. So if we can, we'll just put you on hold for a few minutes until we actually come to your property, if you don't mind.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks. All right. Any other questions, comments, anything?
I would suggest we. So I don't know what the best approach is to go through these, if you just want to take them on the agenda or.
I think some of them are going to be very easy. I think honestly, anything 1950, 1940. That we have.
Maybe that would be my suggestion. If you want to take.
Go
this
backwards?
Oh
I
yeah,
don't want to sit here
we
and
go, go reverse historical order.
go reverse historical order. Okay, if that works, because I think if it's 1940s, 1950s, it's not going to meet the criteria, and we don't require a lot of extra work in order to see if they want to be removed from the list. That's fine.
So 9 Cape Road.
9 Cape Road.
According to our records, was constructed in 1950.
Who's the owner of 9 Cape Road? Hi. Yeah. You want to come up?
My name is Cliff Santos. Me and my wife Karen own 9 Cape Road. It was built around 1950, 1949, I think, somewhere right in there. And it's a modern home, port foundation, dimensional lumber construction, a plastering with blue board, that kind of stuff. Nothing has been we bought it from the original owners, the Tunnels. The Tunnels, president of one of the banks in Milford, but other than that, we're not very
We don't
famous.
have any Revolutionary War soldiers hidden away
No,
in any
no,
cupboards or anything.
no. Positive.
Okay. Yeah, so we went through, we did some research. This is, it does not meet any of the 4 criteria. So I think we have to have an individual vote on each property, Dan?
I think it would be, well, so the only thing we have to vote on is to remove them.
Right.
Or we just simply don't vote. So I would just vote on them.
I thought we weren't gonna do that.
Just wait,
Yeah, just publish all of them.
publish them afterwards?
Well, I think
Okay.
I think if we have a decision to make, we should just make it unless there's some reason to delay.
Yeah,
this property
yeah,
Or
I
any
mean,
other one.
Okay.
We just cross them
That's
off.
good.
right.
So I would make a motion to remove 9 Cape Road from the inventory.
So then, you have a second, Kathy?
Yeah, second.
Okay. Janice, any objection to removing 9 Cape Road? Janice?
She's probably muted. Keep it.
No. No objection. Okay, Connie, any objection? Connie's muted.
She's also, she stepped away.
Okay, I am no.
So, and recording that then as an abstention, she didn't move.
Yeah, people don't vote, but we have 4
Are
votes.
you want me to write these down, Kathy, or are you?
No,
Okay, so I'll just keep track to update on this one.
Thank you.
All right, so then the next one is 20 Bay Street.
Do we have 20 vote? Who's the?
Which I don't know if they're here, I can speak to that one. Because I actually did a bunch of.
Do we know if they're on the line?
I am guessing they are.
Well, so we just don't vote on that one.
Well, no, so 20 Bay Street is one of the ones, the assessors had it listed as 1950. However, after a whole bunch of research, don't believe that, so the owner called and said it didn't feel it was correct, that it was built, let me say. Some question as to the date, it was built later, 1959. They
What
sent us
address?
the water records.
No,
And didn't find anything, but I did look at the deeds, it's not even on the preservation and site.
okay,
And everything I see indicates that this property actually was likely built later than 1950. However, it was safer to put it, do the formal hearing, but even if it wasn't, again, it's a modern house, I don't feel it needs any qualifications.
do we want to remove it from the list or take no action?
Recommend.
Remove? Connie, are you good with removing 20 Bates Street?
Which number, Bates Street?
Number 20,
20.
20.
Okay,
Janice? Did she disappear again?
Here
There
the
she is.
address is ahead of time to make a assessment.
I didn't hear what she said.
What?
Janice, can you repeat that?
It would be helpful to repeat the addresses because I can't hear what you're talking about. The addresses get smushed somehow in the translation.
20
It's fine.
days.
It's 20 Bates, it's on the agenda.
Yeah, I just looked at it, yeah.
So are
Okay,
you good with removing 20 Bates?
yeah,
Okay. Bates. 44 Milford Street.
I just want to add one thought. When you consider having your house removed, and if it's removed from the potential demolition, if it's a house that you really love and you feel has character, you might just choose to stay on the list. You know, in the event that, you know, you decide, you know, I'd really like to see this stay here, it's part of the community. We certainly don't want to see it replaced.
Yeah.
Something else, so, you know, I mean, you decide it's your house. That's it.
Do we have 44?
Yes, 44, I think that's Lori Sweet.
Lori Sweet, okay.
And I can tell you, so the assessors had it in 1949. It's a deed search on the property.
Did you want to come forward or you're good? Okay.
Seems to match that.
what address?
Soldiers in the closets, nothing? Nobody's hiding anything?
What did we say, 49? So it wasn't even, so who built that? Scott Nelly?
Yes.
That's like, an accident there. Yeah, so because there's some old names over there, that predates the house, 'cause it was all land.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because it's land, it's not the house.
I don't, you know, again, I don't see, you could tell, Kathy, if you looked at some actual houses, if there's any potential there.
I mean, it's a king, you know, it's been modified and, well, cited on the line.
Plus, it's in the commercial district, which there isn't much commercial district either.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion?
We want to make a motion to remove the house?
You know what, why don't we make recommendations and like you said, we'll vote at the end. Unless, unless we need to vote and there's a dispute.
All right, make a
You
recommendation.
know, we can just jot down.
All right, and then we can vote on it after, okay. Oh, that's going to speed things up a lot. Okay,
So I think.
recommendation to remove?
I said no objections.
Kathy, no?
Yes, in favor.
Okay. Connie, Janice?
I still cannot hear which house you're talking about. Whoever says it is, I can't hear it. If that person could come to the microphone, because it's very difficult to know what you're talking.
It's
I can't see.
44 Milford.
I don't know what order you're.
We're on the agenda, they're listed by date, we're going from newest to oldest. So backwards, if that helps.
I see. So are you talking about 44 Milford Street?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
And then Connie, did you let in?
I think we're all good, aren't we? Okay. So the recommendation would be to remove on that one, 49,
44,
44,
19.
90.
So the next one is 55 Kinsley Lane. That one,
Have the owner,
I see them.
owner online?
So that house, according to the assessor records, was built in 1948. The statement, this house was built in 1948, just makes the cutoff. We do not believe to be historically significant nor is it architecturally distinctive. It does have a deed search and preservation minute that supports that. 48. I mean, I'm not clear, so it was sold from George and Grace Draper, and Mitchell in 1947. So I'm assuming that's when the house was built.
I'd like to put a hold on this property.
Okay.
Because it is distinctive architecture, it might not fall into the normal categories, but it's like a cottage, you know, and we are also replacing a lot of the cottages along the lake, so we want to just consider keeping that. It's a homeowner.
Homeowner doesn't seem to be here. I think we just
I think
go,
my recommendation is going to be on these ones, we hold and continue.
I think we go through and anything that, you know, we're not, if there's anything specific that we want to put a hold on, that we want to talk with the homeowners about.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Right. 16 Maple Street.
Hold on. Janice, did you hear that one? 16 Maple?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what was the decision
That's
about
actually-
Kinsley Lane? I
District.
didn't hear that.
Correct. So 16 Maple Street, you know, located in the district, so inclusion or removal on this list
Is,
has no
yeah,
no
Right.
point. It is a 1945 house. It's not super old.
The other here.
We just look at this too. So my recommendation is that should remain in the list.
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's,
I mean, even though theoretically it could be removed, I think it would just cause some confusion.
yeah, it's still in the district, so it's not, yeah, agreed. Okay,
And then 58 North Avenue, which is 1940.
58 North Ave? Nope.
58 North Avenue was built in 1940. The deed search says the same thing, 1940.
It's a ranch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 1940 small ranch, style home, no macros inventory.
I guess it is worth just pointing out at this point, we're talking about houses that are within, that are older than 75 years. These need one standard
They do need
age.
that one, yeah.
Small ranch style home. Is not really
Significant.
Yeah.
architecture or in persons.
So I would move to identify it as not significant and move from this.
Can I just say, with the properties that we have here, where the owner is not present, we had put that if they did not want to come, that we were going to take that no action, leave it on the list.
Okay.
So if the owner's actually not here, I mean, if
Well,
they.
I disagree. I think part of this process is that we certainly could just remove them from the list, you know. And they requested removal, we're not doing it if they don't know about it.
Right, they requested removal, but they didn't actually, I mean, these people here,
Yeah, but I
came
don't
to the
think,
meeting.
I don't think it's. I don't know.
I mean, the whole object of that was that they were to come and actually let us know why they didn't want to be on the list. But what we're doing is we're actually making that determination now.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, it's up to you, I feel like the less houses on this, honestly, the less
But it
houses,
doesn't make any
the less ones on this list, the better, if they're not significant.
I don't know, if they don't want to come, well, they
If
are
there's something-
bothered.
I mean, nothing about this.
And it could be based on misunderstanding.
Yeah. But you know what, maybe we can ask those people, okay?
Yeah, when we contact.
Yeah.
Nothing about this sticks out to me as having any
They
value.
go, yeah.
Alright, so
So
then,
do we want to stay with a recommendation for removal?
my vote is rule.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so I move for
Yeah.
removal, Deanne second.
Yeah, well, I think if we should maybe wait and summarize these in the list, I think you're right. So at this point, we're just documenting everybody's.
We're just documenting them and then see it from there, okay?
Did you have a question?
Yes. Can somebody other than the owner ask for the property to be removed from the
No.
list?
Not to be removed, no.
Well, I think, let me read the bylaw, I think that, like, the owner's agent, like, a, power of attorney kind of thing. I don't know what they exactly said, but. In this case, we sent a letter to the owners, so all these requests came from the owner.
Yeah.
We just there. Here.
I can't say, because if I say it, I don't say it.
Any petition for removal must come from the property owner or their agent.
There you go.
So I think we can be looking for a sign, which is what we got in mind.
Right, okay. Okay, next one, number 80, Uxbridge Road. Built in 1940.
The owner here.
The owner's here, okay.
It was completely gutted in 2003. The only thing that remained is the foundation. And at the time, it was a 24 by 30 foot cottage square, just a square building. So I don't think there's any historical significance to it.
The insert seems to match.
We added a second floor in 2003, completely stripped it down. I think there's a few trees left in the foundation was all.
No revolution was on this.
Unless they drown in the lake. That's the only thing.
Okay. Did you have anything?
Do you know if the property was an original boathouse?
And not according to land court documents.
Nothing in the deed indicates.
The only thing that showed up in the land court deed was the cow watering thing, but I think that's an evergreen thing. It's mine's land court and there's no restrictions at all.
Yeah.
So, because I own the property is 82, and they're both separate land court documents.
And aren't they both identical buildings?
There's actually no building there, it's just they're identical size lots.
Okay,
My yard is basically a separate lot by,
okay.
that was broken off and they sold Millie Mitchell's to the canoe club or something like that.
I mean, I'm just trying to see, the distinction between this and the Kinsley one. Cottage.
Well, I mean, the floor too, and it wasn't a, there was no distinction, I mean, it was a square, it was a 24 by 30 square, and that's all it is now, 24 by 26 or something.
Yeah.
Like that square. And we just put it on the floor on it, yeah. And any unique features of the porches that we added and stuff like that, it was just a block.
So give us your house on it.
No, and it's also made out of cinder block, which is the foundation of cinder block, which wasn't really around. You know, when they were building those boathouses, most of them rock or ledge or something like that, fieldstone.
I don't see any.
I don't think it meets any of the criteria, does it? There's nothing left to make. It's significant.
No.
It makes you feel like we have no intention of ever selling or tearing it down.
Well, that's why I mentioned, you want to how long you take it down.
I'm an environmental consultant and I deal with towns and cities all the time and see where this has happened and bylaws have changed, so I just like to keep it
Right.
just to my own sanity and.
It doesn't meet the criteria, so that I don't see any reason for keeping it on. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Does Connie or Janice have any? Feel free to just jump in.
So maybe we should all call aye, that we agree, yeah,
Yeah, and we'll,
Kathy, aye, Janice,
I'm sorry, what did, what were the votes so? I can't hear you.
80 Uxbridge Road, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah,
It's on the lake.
okay, I thought that was one of the clubhouses on the lake. Is that not true?
He said there's no indication in the deed, and I went back to check on the deed search and thought that, you know, there wasn't, I mean, there's very. Said
no wonder the audio is
it
crap.
was featured.
You didn't have the volume up?
No, somebody changed the settings on this. I didn't even think to look. That should be much better, Janice.
Oh, good, thank you.
The deeds in
much
court,
better.
and there's no pre-construction of that house, documentation of anything being there. So if there
Right.
was, it was
Long
not
gone.
recorded.
Yeah, but you know, the amusement park, all of that stuff was still going on right until the 1970s. So, you know, the canoe club was there, and a lot of people were, you know, used to pull in. The rowboats would be lined up in front of those.
Yeah, my parents used to take the trolley to Roxbury.
Right. So, you know, that's the only reason why, you know, so if you opt out, there's always a chance that the next guy comes along and it's gone, because there won't be any, you know, consideration to save it. So that's all. All right. I think do we get Connie and,
Yeah. Connie and Janice, if you have anything to say where you would like to kind of just jump in, because I think you guys are having issues with us, hearing us. But what we're doing is just literally going along and just making like an aye vote unless you have an objection to a property being removed. Okay?
Yeah, I guess I would be concerned about this one, but
Yep.
well, you can
I mean,
vote against that.
I appreciate Dan changing the settings because it's much better now.
Good.
Yeah, I don't understand why that got switched again.
Okay.
Um,
So it was a majority aye?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not aye. I'd like to
Oh,
have more discussion on that one, you know, at some point. If it was one of the clubhouses, then I think we should be careful.
Well, then maybe it sounds like the recommendation is to continue this one and do more research if we don't have a clear.
Are you okay with that?
I'm not okay with that. I don't want to be dragged into this more and more. I have a land court deed, which is certified by the state, and there's absolutely no no information there regarding any of this potential boathouse or anything. It's, you know, I don't really want to be tied up in this and more meetings and stuff. The house was completely gutted down to the foundation in 2003. There's nothing original from the house. It was a square. It was we added another floor. It's not even close to what it once was. So I don't see why it would fall into that. To me, the clock starts ticking again in 2003. Because at the time, they approved our building permit, and they approved us taking the roof right off of it and putting another floor on and completely redoing the whole thing. So, I mean,
I might share, you know, that historic character. It sometimes doesn't just sit in, you know, on the exterior of one house, but it can also affect like an area, a row of houses, you know, the brownstones in Boston, you know, so there is value, historic value when the exterior, you know, remains the same, which is kind of, you know, what the historic district, you know, a lot of houses get gutted. It's, you know, the visual characteristic of the town. So I think we were just, their concerns are, we just want to make sure that we, you know, cross our T's and dot our I's, that we're certain that it wasn't part of the clubhouse. Because there are photographs.
how are you going to determine that? I
well,
mean, even if you, I've seen the photographs of the lake and stuff, there's buildings there, but how do you know where they are? There's no civil engineering, there's no bounds or any kind of layout. I mean, you know, if somebody shows you a picture with a square house on it, does that mean, I mean, you know, I have land court documents that were produced that show that, and that clearly state that, you know, there was no historical significance. It wasn't a boathouse, it wasn't any of that stuff. It's a residence. So I don't understand why that would.
I think there's.
I mean,
one
what you're telling me,
reference.
I mean, this is based on nothing. I mean, there's nothing to say that it was a boathouse. I mean, you know, my understanding were all those boathouses were demolished at some point, and then they were completely wiped out, and they put up residences. So I mean, it's not, you know, it's a CMU building. You know, CMU has only been used since probably around the construction time of this. It's not something that existed 70, 80 years ago. So whatever boathouse was there was either on wood pylons or whatever, is long gone.
Okay.
The CMU foundation wouldn't exist.
Are you okay if we just double check that and get back to you? I mean, I think the general consensus is, you know, we're leaning towards, you know, removing it, but we just want to make sure we make a comprehensive decision.
I don't know.
I think we all understand.
It's just frustrating. I don't really want to have to come to one of the meeting. I mean, I don't want to have to keep following up with this.
Right. Well, you wouldn't have to follow up with us. We would follow up with you.
Right. But I think, you know, I don't understand. I mean,
I mean, I think, again, you know, it goes back to this whole issue of, if you're not intending to demolish it, it becomes a moot point.
it really doesn't, because I deal with historical commissions all over the state. And I know what you're saying is true in Mendon, and I agree with you. But when bylaws change, and they do, and it comes to a referendum vote for the entire community can make decisions, then you get stuck in those with bylaw changes. And I really just don't want to be in that situation. You know, I mean, I don't know what our plans are for the future of our house, whether we want to try to maybe add a garage or something. I mean, we're very limited in what we can do anyways, because we're on the lake. Where Conservation Commission is going to be involved in anything we do anyways.
Right.
We're highly unlikely we can expand it, and you can't do any demo without getting through Conservation Commission anyways. I just don't want, I don't think I need this. To me, we're in a commercial district. If McDonald's came down tomorrow and offered me $10 million for it, you know, I mean, I'd like to have some flexibility. You know, I don't really want to be tied into a historical situation. I don't think that's going to happen. No one thinks that's going to happen. There isn't enough land, but
I think I think from what I'm hearing from the consensus of the members, though, is that obviously there is a concern there. I didn't know about this beforehand. With the information that they have from the society. We didn't just sit here and go, okay, this is what's going to happen. They've been doing deed searches. They've done researching on all of the property so that when anybody says, well, my house doesn't meet that, well, wait a minute, let's just see. I think what we do on this is initially everybody said, okay, but then there could be, and we're not saying even at this point, if you're on the list, and you come and you want to demolish the property, what we're saying is give us time. No bylaws are going to change. Give us time to look and just take a peek at this and say, is there anything there that would make us want to maybe work with you rather than put a McDonald's in there?
Okay, but I guess my argument would be that there's no evidence that there's.
Well, there is, because they have evidence from the Historical Society.
So they were using, so the house was built in, has a construction date, I think you said,
Right.
What was it, 1940?
Right.
Okay, house was built in 1940.
Right.
You're talking about buildings that predated 1940. So if it was built in 1940.
No, if it was 1940, it could have been built, it could have been a boathouse that was built in 1940. The fact that you renovated it and changed it in 2003.
I renovated it from a house. There's no evidence that there was any boathouse access or anything. It was a small cottage, and it still is a house. I mean, I could see if I had like huge bays in the back where you could haul canoes in and out or something, I would agree with you. But I mean, you know, we completely gutted the building. It's a foundation with a walkout basement, and you know, and that's it. I mean, I just don't see how, you know, it was completely taken apart. There was nothing left of it, and there was nothing found. That was, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just against it, and I feel like it's, and I feel like, you know, I feel like it. I would prefer it not to happen. I don't think it should happen. I think I have land court documents that say it does, and I don't really want to keep dealing with this. I kind of want to just, let's move on. It's not historical, it's new construction.
Yeah, there is a state, there are some land plans that the state put out when it created Uxbridge Road. So let us just go back and reference those lots, and then we can just confirm it. And I
You
think
guys have
that would
access
make-
to land court documents?
Yeah.
Okay, then perfect. All right.
And I think, it looks like if we theoretically talk about the next meeting being the 16th, then it sounds like, on this one, we need to go back and double check everything
Yeah.
and verify.
And it'll be,
I'm looking at these postcards, nothing sticks out to me, but
Yeah.
And if you would prefer not to come in, we will contact you. Just let
We
us
can do
know.
it all by phone, by computer, whatever.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right here. Oh, God,
I don't know. Oh, whoops.
please. Who's next?
So that was 8-0, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not talking about
then-
taking a lot of time here. We can just look at those documents, just reference it and see where
Oh,
it
yeah,
goes.
yeah.
And it's not, we're not saying you can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's just, let's
So-
just review.
The next one, 73 Uxbridge Road. I don't know if anybody's here for that. It is built in 1940.
That's on the other side of the road. Hi.
Check.
Is it possible, that we can address the people that are here, and people that aren't here, we can address afterward? Is that
Well,
possible?
that's what I was thinking. You guys
Oh.
actually want to be here and
We
you
want
want to
to
talk
support
about
the
it.
program, yeah.
Well, that's what I think. So I think we just go through that, Dan, and then we'll come back to the ones that people aren't here. Yeah, I think it's a much
Well,
better
all right, then
idea.
go through one. Somebody, pick somebody.
Okay, ladies, would you
All
like to
in
go
favor?
first?
So, that was actually the next one. So 44 Bellingham.
Like one, the next one. so-
44 Bellingham Street is 1940.
Yep.
That's from here. Let me just double check that.
What do we have on 44 Bellingham?
First, I can't believe 8 children lived in that house. Unbelievable. Built in 1940, there is no Macris inventory and no significant architectural features.
Deed search seems to match that up. I don't see any. I don't know. Anybody else has any other information?
Any other information now?
Anyone else? So I'll make a motion to remove it from the list.
Aye. Connie?
Second. Aye.
Okay, Janice came through a second on that.
Okay, and then, yep, that's fine with me.
Thank you. So will we notify the mail of that?
We're gonna send a letter of our decision.
Yeah,
It might be a couple weeks,
Okay.
but we'll do that.
yeah,
Great. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
All right,
Thank you.
Did you have another one that you were,
is it just, was that
did you
just,
mention 4 Cape Road though? Was that?
Yeah, that's my brother.
Is someone here for that or?
We're not, we don't.
Okay.
own the property.
no, so
If you-
we'll work with him, definitely. Okay, thank you.
All right,
Hi.
So who's somebody?
28 Taft Ave?
Hang on. 28 Taft Ave is 1930.
Yep,
Oops. What help if I type? And it's not on the water, right?
side of the road.
It's across the street.
It's on the other side. There it is.
28 Taft Avenue, the assessors indicate 1930. There is a deed search that says also 1930. And that's all I got.
It's a 4-square colonial. There is no existing Macris inventory on it. It is one of several houses, all 4-square, that mark the changeover from cottage living to long-term three-season residency on the lake.
No revolutionary people.
You sure?
I'm positive.
They're canny, those people, you know, they disguise themselves well.
Is there any particular reason you want it removed?
I just don't feel that it has any significant architectural detail. It wasn't made by a master craftsman. It was
Right.
Just a square.
Yeah.
Do you want to just repeat what you said louder, so about the four?
Oh, yeah, so it basically, there are 4 or 5 houses, so all the land around the lake belonged to the Taft family. So the town moved from cottage living into a more permanent residence, and now we have, year-round residence. So that was kind of the hallmark. The 4 squares were a hallmark when people decided that they wanted to be on the lake and they would stay on the lake for 3 seasons or more. So, it defines a character, a transition along the lake.
Understandably, but I do like the fact that if I choose, I can, pursue it as its own historic district.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
fine, but I just at this time would like to be removed from the list, please.
all right.
Janice?
Yes.
What do you
Yeah.
think about 28 Taft Avenue?
Okay.
Okay. Connie?
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah, I would defer to Kathy on this. I mean, if we're not overly attached to the architectural of it, I mean, that seems the only thing. Other than that, it doesn't really have much value otherwise. So,
I'm hemming and hawing
If, and
here.
if at some point more research was done that would actually make, that become more significant to the town, then you can approach the homeowner who is already interested in preserving it at some point and actually work something through there where you could make all 4 of those houses a historic district if they wanted to.
Right.
If they wanted to preserve it. But up until that point, I don't see any, I don't have any objection.
I'm going to approve.
Approve? Thank you. Approve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve removal.
Well, not to remove it, just from the list.
From the list.
Yeah.
right. We'll
We don't want to come up there tomorrow and see it gone.
Thank you.
Okay, back row.
here, somebody.
51 Taft.
You're also Taft.
51.
Another
Taft.
Taft. This is 1910.
This
It
house,
says 1910, when I went to the registry of deeds, it said 42. Maybe I'm wrong.
let
You
me,
said 1942?
I believe it was 42.
1910.
When I went to Worcester to look at it.
Patrice has 1910. Let me look. I'd have to dig into these deeds. 2 lots, including 42. Lot 42.
Why do I not?
So what is this?
Yeah.
Even at 42, it's like within the 75 years, but that's not the point. It's like,
What address is it, please?
this one is 51 Taft Avenue.
Thank you.
Huh. So this, I'm reading through the deeds. So this is 1940. What did we say it was?
1910.
1910.
So this is the 1943 deed that references being a lot owned by blah, blah, blah. It doesn't recognize a parcel of land. So at some point, we'd have to ask Patrice more. At some point, I think it usually says the buildings they're on.
Right, it would say a building or structure.
56390.
You think it was maybe like a
Surely.
cottage or something?
It
that
could
was
have been a
taken down?
boathouse.
Huh?
No, you didn't. No, we did actually a full reconstruction in 2000, right down to the foundation. Nothing is original, and actually 2 doors down next to the
The beach.
So you see them often, do you? Yeah.
I'm not sure, is that, I was going to say, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
So here, this deed finally says a certain parcel of lands with the buildings thereon and all, blah, 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 blah. And this is in 1985. But they didn't always say that.
Yeah, so nothing earlier that indicates.
I don't know, we should make a note to ask Patrice to double check this one.
I mean, if the 1910 deed doesn't
Comes
show
from.
it,
Yeah, like I said, there was nothing left. You worked right down to the foundation in 2000.
So in 1917, the deed was for 12 lots. Then in 1927, it was for 2 lots. And then in 1939, it was finally for the individual lot. And it has the name Blanchard, George Blanchard, Shirley Eston. Then it went back to Blanchard, more Blanchard. So it seems to be all Blanchard. So, it seems like they sold off the land and then sold off smaller lots. So I think
Right.
30s
So
is
the
probably a better.
1910 was the original lot.
Probably what
but
you
it
need to do
was
is go
split
dig
and
through the
then
tax
built.
records and find out when it was taxed. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that was done here. But
Yeah.
looking at the deeds, I think 1930s might be a better number. I don't know. I don't know how much she referenced when she did these. Does it have a plaque on it or no?
No,
No, so they didn't do that far.
facing where you're at, the beach, I'm to the left here.
Yeah, no, I know, I just,
Yeah. No plaque, just like 51 Taft Ave sign.
yeah. So I don't know, sounds like, either way, it sounds like by age, it's not, it's just a matter of whether we feel that it's, significant architecturally, really. I mean, but this is new, that like log cabin stuff? Or is that what it always was?
What say you on this one?
I would,
Oh, no, it just looked like that in the picture, it's just brown wood. I'm done, okay.
Yeah, no log cabin.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, okay.
Just regular wood shingles, standard 2x4s, concrete foundation.
I would move to remove it from the list.
Okay. Dan?
I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Let's see.
Janice, you okay with that? Removal?
Yep.
Connie?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thanks for coming
Sorry we
out.
kept you so long.
No worries. Good luck.
Okay,
38 Cape Road.
Oh,
1890.
38 Cape. 1890.
I'm gonna come up so I can see you all.
Yeah, I think we, all right, 38 Cape Road is 1890. Where is it on my list?
I have to.
I think that
check
barn is part,
something,
it's the,
'cause I
like the
think
barn
date
that's
is
there
wrong.
and the solar behind it. I mean, it's different lots, but that's what we're talking about.
That is the site. The barn's newer.
Okay, 1890, that's what this says too. This was Burr, Honeywell, Weber, Munyon, and then Clifton Bates, just these old names. I mean, it was,
I'm not familiar with the actual house.
That's consistent with the names that we have. So I'm Adam Costa. I'm an attorney with the firm of Mead, Tallerman and Costa. The Pettinellis here, my clients are here as well.
Mhm.
If it helps, thanks to Google, that's the house.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Sort of a traditional Cape. We weren't sure of the exact year of construction. I see the 1890 reference in your assessor's records. Assessor's records refer to it as being, the property as a whole as being in average condition. I think my clients would dispute that and say it's probably in worse than average condition. The condition elements here with respect to exterior actually list the exterior being in worse condition. They say the exterior condition is fair. It's an altered Cape. I mean, what's interesting is even the photograph in your assessor's records conflicts significantly so with the photograph in Google. This is a photograph from 2019 in Google, and I was able to look back through as far back as 2008 in Google, and they all look more or less like this. There were some features of the house. The dormers are not original. It would appear from the assessor's records that there was some sort of an enclosed entry originally. That enclosed entry is now gone. As I said, the condition of the house is rather poor. We've done some research of our own. It sounds like a lot of these properties in Mendon, or at least the ones that have been before you tonight, have been, you've heard referenced as the land court records. So many of them are registered parcels of land. This one is too. So we've done some registered land research to see what we could find. We found the same names in the chain of title as well. So nothing that was notable to us. My clients say there's really no notable features of the structure itself, architecturally or otherwise. It's a sort of a standard cape, has a sort of downtrodden garage that's separate from it, has a newer barn that's in the back. I think to the extent that anything, would potentially qualify under your bylaw simply based upon age, it would just be the main house. And, we have no reason to confirm or deny that it was built in or around 1890. But,
We have a deed search that indicates it was built in, well, it was transferred in 1845.
Okay.
So it's actually a little older
Older than
than
that.
the records show. So,
Well, usually that when she, like this says the same thing, circa 1890, usually it's when that means she found proof of the building somewhere. That's why
Right.
Patrice did these.
And there are, I know you've referenced today, the typical deed language, conveying a certain parcel of land together with a building or buildings thereon. And we see that language in the chain of title going back as far as the early 1900s. So it sounds like maybe your examiner went a bit further back and found similar language. So that's fine. Again, we don't dispute necessarily that it was constructed in 1890 or maybe potentially earlier than 1890, but from our perspective, no notable owners, no notable characteristics of the property. I think what is notable, my clients brought to my attention, is that the town actually opted to rezone this rather small swath of 140 from the Bellingham line back in 2019 to the Highway Business District in an effort to try to sort of encourage focusing the sorts of businesses that wouldn't be allowed elsewhere in Mendon along that stretch. So the focus of this corridor is more commercial than residential. My clients have no immediate intentions to convert the property to commercial use. They're currently renting the property. But from their perspective, it has no particular historic value.
They're not actually the owners of the property. They're actually renting, right?
They're the owners of record, but they're the owners. They are renting it out to tenants.
My only question on this, do we know, like, this isn't one of the old dairy farms or anything, is it, with that old barn? That would be my only concern. And you said the barn is newer?
Newer than the house itself. Yeah, we get some record references.
That's really more my concern than the house. It's that old brown barn in the back that, whether it's really historic.
My only point on this is that this is an old property. And do we need to spend more time to review?
I think I would like to. I mean, we have been working on Cape Road to try to preserve some of what that whole district used to be, which was South Milford. Unfortunately, we see houses drop left and right because of the commercial zoning. Obviously, it would be our hope to retain some of, what existed there. I know the old schoolhouse has been moved onto Bates Street, and that was done when Route 140 was created. There's a strong family history that's all tied to the Bignell Cemetery and the Thurbers, and so I digress here. But I think, we might like to take a little bit longer look at the property and the ownership. Jetham Hayward, the historic district, which is right across the street or down and across the street on the corner of Bates Street and 140, was just recently designated a single property historic district, and the land was all together at one point. That house, this particular property, it was all part of a cluster of homes. So, I mean, I think if you wouldn't mind if we could just, spend a little more time.
A little bit longer to review it.
My understanding, though, is that the town and all of its planning has wished that this area be commercial, and they keep increasing the commercial zoning to encourage that. So while you say, I'm sure it's true, it's clear though that the town, through multiple meetings, documentation and votes, have decided that this area, and Route 140 in particular, should be encouraged to go more commercial.
But that doesn't necessarily, I mean, it doesn't necessarily affect the properties on there. The fact that it might be more, more commercial usage might be promoted there. We still want to keep some of, I mean, that we don't want to lose the houses. Because that whole area in itself is a very historic part of town. And so, there's no reason why you can't have both. Like we've already had, a lot of these little houses that keep disappearing are in, where people want to take them down and then put up a warehouse or do whatever they want to do with it. It's their property. We don't necessarily want to lose the whole characteristic of that area. I mean, Bates Street and Cape Road, and we're not saying that we're not removing you from the list. What we're saying is, can we please have some more time? Because it just clicked with me that this is close to that other property. I'd like to just find out from Historical Society what else was there.
Right.
I think, my only concern would be is if that was a site of one of those historic farm type properties, or if it's just, more generic.
I mean, yeah, and it could well be.
The house site actually is really not in great condition.
It's just a lot. Kathy knows a lot. Yeah. I don't. I would like to just make sure that we've got it straight before we actually turn around and say, let's withdraw it. I mean.
And can I ask a question? So I hear reference being made to, a potential concern that if the property were part of a farm in the town many years ago, that would be problematic. How would that lend historic significance to the structure?
It's not necessarily the structure either, it's the area.
Well, it would be I think it would be the business.
If we can tie it to this particular one, but yeah.
Yeah, I think in this case it would be as if it turns out this was the, whatever farm that was very active, which, I don't think is likely. I don't know enough. I don't
think so either, but
I don't remember what was over here.
Mm.
I wish somebody had told me something about vegetables that rings a bell. Because what did Myla Thayer do? What did they farm
Her
over there?
farmland was where the soccer field is, but they used to farm that whole area, meadow. They used to, cut for lumber. I mean, we've got tons of photographs of that.
I don't know. It would be worth double checking. I mean, I'm more concerned about the barn than the house in terms of demolition, development, whatever. I mean, unfortunately, as you pointed out, that's our huge struggle. This is commercial real estate.
Right. Yeah, so. And with respect to the commercial real estate, at the time that area was designated, I don't believe that anyone really understood the historical significance of South Mendon or South Milford. There wasn't much literature written on it, but we've got, we're getting more and more information about that area and kind of how it operated as its own self. It tried to break away at one point because they established a church, and inside the church was also a post office and a grocer. So they had tried to become quite independent of the town and, create its own entity or become its own entity. So you're familiar with the Green Store, right?
I grew up there.
Yeah.
Is that the one in the corner?
Yeah. Which also now is in danger of demolition.
That's in Hopedale, right?
Yeah, it is. But it was all part of
It was part of Mendon.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So, what was I going to say? What was I saying? Just from a historical perspective, it would be nice to try to keep some of it intact. And I think we've kind of tripped over each other in the process, but through the Mendon Master Plan, we're finding ways to kind of incorporate some of the historical stuff with the commercial growth and kind of find a way to get them to complement each other instead of just demolition. one of the features of the demolition delay bylaws, it gives us time to negotiate with homeowners that, okay, you want it demolished, if you can't repurpose it, perhaps we can move it. I mean, some of them are, it's not completely outrageous because we watched the Comstock house go up the street. So, but it gives us time to think about, do we really want this to come down rapid fire, or do we want to just try to give this a little time and thought? Is there a way to preserve it?
But before that process kicks in, there needs to be a determination that there's some historical significance. I mean, that is the definition of the bylaw.
Right,
So
and
I certainly appreciate it. I mean, I represent primarily municipalities, so I represent historical commissions like yours. And I appreciate the desire to sort of maintain the historical character of certain areas of a city or town.
Right.
But for a demolition delay bylaw to kick in, we're dealing with, and we heard it at the beginning of the meeting, buildings and structures.
Well,
Right.
buildings and structures, or groups of buildings and structures. So, I mean, the fact that some of these buildings are now gone, it still denotes the nature of the area. I mean, we've got certain areas in town, like at the end of Millville Street, where we actually lost the house. But that was part of an older area of town. So that's what, and we're not saying no. What we're saying is we cannot at this moment in time give a determination without reviewing it. And it may come up that, yeah, no, we're completely wrong. There's nothing there to even consider. But we're asking for some time to do that.
What prompted, if I could ask, so there's some, 24 properties on the list for today? So I have to think, just based upon, obviously, many of these, more than a third of the list is from the 40s and 50s. So that was probably just based upon age. And the 75-year term. But some of these other properties, 1840, 1884, 1890, 1900, these properties obviously have been subject to this bylaw probably since the initial adoption of the bylaw.
Yeah.
So what prompts the commission's consideration of the removal of these properties now, as opposed to, because you have a select number here, a handful.
The way, the part of the, I guess, compromise, we set forth a process that anyone could request removal. So every single one of these is by request.
Okay.
So we sent a letter and said, hey, we've updated the bylaw. Going forward, here's how it works. If you don't want to be on the list, you can apply. So that's what prompted these.
All right, so other properties that exist in the town that might be circa 1840, 1890, that aren't on the list, simply that's because there was no request made by the by the owner.
This had to be the request by the owner.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the discussion we had a lot about, I think, just by virtue of age, I think it's worthy of being subject to demolition delay unless there's really strong evidence that there's just no benefit. So I think I would agree. In the case of this one, I think I would recommend we continue it and dig into it and just double check that, make sure we're all informed as to the decision.
And in a way, it's kind of helping the homeowner in the same view, because if we do a thorough research on this and review it and we come up and say, yeah, that there's nothing significant about this property other than age. If at some point they decide they want to demolish that house, we've already done the review.
Fair enough. Understood. So your intention, I know you made reference to a meeting in January, and I also read your bylaw, so I know that your bylaw talks about a public hearing based on a request for removal, and then talks about a decision of the commission. I think it says within 14 days. So
I believe that's for the demolition.
That's for a demolition hearing.
Let me double check.
I don't
believe
think that's-
there's
is
a
that-
timeline on our decision for this. We have 14 days to do the notice. Within 14 days of the conclusion of the hearing, and a copy should be filed. And I think my intention would be to continue this portion of the hearing for these few properties that need more research.
Right, and we're only talking about like
To the
three,
next, I think, to the January meeting.
To the January meeting. And what date was that?
Well, we have to discuss, but I think tentatively it'd be the third Monday, which is 1, 2, right? That's our date, right? I'm looking at the wrong month. The 16th. So it'd be the January 16th at 7, I think, would be the tentative
That's when we
date.
have our
Assuming that
scheduled
works for everyone. And I think there's going to be 4 or 5 that we either continue, and like I said, there's 1 or 2 that got left off that we need to properly advertise. That didn't make the initial listing.
And you referenced research. Does that research fall to you? I can't imagine you've got a staff, do you?
Well, we do have a huge staff. Actually, no, we work closely with the Historical
my eyes.
Society.
I need to.
And who have like amazing records, and they would be the people that we would actually do a lot of the research with. We'd also obviously do public records too.
Okay.
So,
And would we have the ability, I mean, you know, we have some research of our own, and what I'd like to
Absolutely.
avoid is to
Yeah.
not step in here on the 16th, not knowing what you've got. So will we have the ability to communicate with you between now and your continued hearing to see what you found
Absolutely.
and to share what we have?
In fact, we'd appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. This is not a kind of them against us kind of thing. This is the whole reason that we started doing all of this, was because we want to work with people. That was the whole idea behind the demolition delay bylaw. We want to work with people. Don't just take a house down. Let's see what we can work together. And it's not, it's the idea behind it is not, like I said so many times, it's not punitive. Yeah, please give us all the information you can to support why you think it shouldn't be on the list, that it doesn't have any significance to the town, and we'll do the same thing back.
Sure. And I didn't mean to suggest, and I'm not suggesting that it's meant to be punitive.
No.
I will say that from the developer or the landowner perspective, it may not be punitive, but it does have a meaningful or a substantive effect on at least the immediate developability of a property, as you alluded to before.
Yep.
When an application is made for a demolition permit, there's as long as a 9-month delay before anything can be done with that property.
Possibly, but we've only enacted that. How many times have we enacted that the past 4 years? 3 times?
Yeah, I think 3 times.
Okay.
Bearing in mind that we've lost like 20 or 30 houses.
Sure.
So like I said, we want progress as much as everybody else, but we want to make sure it doesn't come at a cost. So if we can work with developers, with homeowners, whoever we can, I mean, we're all homeowners, we're all taxpayers, we all live in this town too. So we will do whatever we can to work with that person and make sure that, you know, it's fair and equitable to everybody.
Okay, well, we'll get you the additional information we have,
Yep.
and we'll look to see what you're able to uncover.
That would be really good. In fact, if you could send it through, like if you can email it, just to the historic commission.
Yeah, I think we were talking through Viewpoint, or feel free to just, I believe it's just hdc@mendonma.gov.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can send that through, and then as we start to get some information back from the Historical Society, we'll do the same.
Okay, we'll do.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
in tonight. Thank you.
All righty,
Somebody
and
else.
the next.
14 Hartford Ave West.
Yep.
All right.
1925. Now, I know there's revolutionary soldiers hidden on this property somewhere. I know it.
Oh, yeah, because I can't hear you up there.
Okay.
14
I know, and I missed
Hartford
this
Ave West, 1925.
Thank you.
Deed search.
Yes,
says
so we have
same thing.
circa 1925.
And this is the ranch or the?
Yes.
Yes.
14 Hartford
So-
Ave West, yeah.
So a lot of the houses at the beginning of Hartford Ave West were the spillover from the cottages. If you couldn't live right on the lake, you might go down on Hartford Ave West.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh, I was just saying that a lot of the houses on Hartford Ave West at the very beginning were just spillover cottages. There used to be a community of, I think, German immigrants that used to have cottages up there. So just a piece of information. But in terms of architectural significance, we did not find anything that was outstanding. Anything else?
It meets the standard for age, but it doesn't, like this,
Really, only half of it is that old because there's half of the house was an addition that was put on much later.
Right.
And it's only 826 square feet, so it's itty bitty. And I feel like my buying pool is very small and it's a 3-bedroom septic and a teeny tiny little house. So that was why I want to be removed from the list.
right.
Matthewson, it was Daniel H. Barnes to Saunders to Matt. None of these names are proprietors or anything special.
All right, so I will make a motion to remove it from the list.
Connie, do you have any reason why this shouldn't be removed?
Is this 58 Hartford Ave West?
No, this is 14.
Well, I just want to look at it. Oh, okay, I don't have any, I agree.
Okay, thank you. Janice?
Okay.
Okay,
There's
that's the
three
recommendation.
separate 58s on this list.
We have 58 separate, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I
No.
would agree. All right.
So 14's good to be removed?
Yep.
I think so. All right, what else? Who's else?
Who's the next victim?
I thought I was on the list, but I'm not.
You're not on the list?
No, so
Yeah,
I'm saving the barn, that's all you guys care about.
yeah, exactly. We want to keep that barn.
If
Thank
not,
you.
we're gonna move in.
If you want to help pay for it, I'm fine with it.
All right. Thanks for coming in
are
tonight.
you guys waiting for properties?
Yep, next.
3 Milford
3
Street.
Milford did not apply for a hearing and is not on our list.
I don't have number 3.
We have 5, but not 3.
I have 5, but not 3.
Oh, hang on, let's make sure this isn't, is that your mailing? Do you know, is there a difference? Hang on. I think 3 and 5 are 2 separate properties. Let me just make sure we didn't scramble these.
They are.
What's the name?
Bishara, the last name? BCHARA.
Yeah. So I have 5 Milford Street who applied. So unfortunately, I think we had asked everyone to apply by a deadline.
We didn't get an application.
I don't see one for this property.
Do you remember applying?
Yeah,
I'm gonna look it
Wait,
up.
did you do it online?
no, it was a mailing thing.
Okay.
No.
Let's look for 3. I don't have anything or
No, 'cause
record of
I
anything,
have-
unfortunately,
No.
but, you know, in the
We
interest
can do the
of,
hearing in January
if we
for
want
that.
to
if we
put this
want.
on the list for the January hearing,
Are you okay with that?
I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
But maybe briefly, we could just, I don't know, we got a ton of them. I mean, it's a it's an 1830s house,
Yeah.
so I think we probably need to do some research on this property.
We do.
Yeah.
In the interest of,
I'll give us
All right.
some time to do research.
so can I
We
need
will
to,
put that off until the 16th of
I
January.
need to get your info. So I make sure this goes out. I just, do you have like an email or phone or something?
Yeah, you can, Sam,
I'm just going to do that so we don't record his email here. All right, so Sam.
M as in Mary,
Yep.
medical supply,
Sorry,
.com, medical supply,
MM.
yep. 3 M's.
.com.
Okay.
MM Medical Supply. All right, I will do that so we can make sure we send you out. So we'll have to put this on the January
We'll
meeting.
put you on the January meeting. That would be the 16th, and it will be, you'll get the agenda, like, if you go on the side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Sorry about that. So we don't know who number 5 Washington Street is, right?
Are you 5?
Oh.
Come on
You're
up.
5. Come on up. We should say come on down, although he might think he's going to win something.
All right, so 5 Milford Street.
Yeah.
That one is 1910. Link to the deed search. This says 1925 according to the deed search.
I have 5 and I have 5A. Is it just one property?
One property.
It's one property?
Yeah, it's 5.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's land, the other piece is land. Okay.
So.
So we have circa 1910.
The preservation amendment listed as circa 1925.
Why do I have 1890?
Are you looking at 5 Milford? think.
No, I'm not. I got it.
Yeah.
I did that too.
I did just, yeah, I looked at Washington Street.
So.
I thought the house was like 1910, but.
Yeah, so the assessors say 1910, this from the society says 1925. That's part of why we did this, because these records are all over the place.
And I thought it was 1920.
That would fit kind of some of this. I mean, her first deed is 1919. From
Oh, that
George
probably
M.
would
Taft
fit
to
then,
James
yeah.
Edward Flukes.
Mhm.
And then it was
That's
all
right,
Flukes.
That was the original owner.
And then Bocage and then
Yeah.
Ganglio.
And then Bocage.
Yeah.
And then me.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm only like the third owner.
Oh.
So. 5, so it meets the age
Do
standard.
we have
I don't know
anything
what
significant
else
about
we
this
have
one,
to-
Kathy?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes, we do.
We do.
So, it does have a Macris inventory. So it was identified by the state as being a significant property, as a bungalow, and a contributing architecture to the village center district. So according to the state, when they came in 1989, they looked at all of the houses. They identified this district, the center district, and carried through onto Milford Street and up North Avenue. And then North Avenue became its own area. But, I mean, I guess I would ask you, how many bungalows do you see in Mendon? And
I have no idea even what a bungalow is.
well, it's your style of house.
It's basically a one-floor house.
Right.
Right, with 4 dormers on it.
Yeah.
I don't know how many, truthfully.
There aren't too many.
Okay, I believe you.
There aren't too many, and certainly not many that are well kept like yours is. I mean, I drive by that house all the time and I go,
Oh, I know which
so
one this is.
beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Red garage.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I have a little house envy over there. But I'll get over it. So, from my perspective, it is a really unique home, and I would hate to see it drop out of the landscape. It would just be devastating for me, but that's not what this is all about. I mean, I think, overall, it brings a certain value and quality to the town in the village center that, it really does contribute to, the history of the town.
My only concern is same as the other gentleman had before, that the bylaws change and then we lose control over what happens.
Right.
And again, I've been a park commissioner, a library trustee for years in this town. And I've seen how things happen that even if you go to a town meeting or whatever, it doesn't mean you get the support that everybody else has. So bylaws can change that affect you.
Agreed. Yeah.
Of other people that has no effect on them. They don't care.
Right.
The only reason people come to a board meeting is because it directly affects them.
Right.
Other than that, nobody else comes.
Right.
Okay, it's like, I want to change the speed limit, or I want to make this a one-way street because I don't want the cars to go by my house. They don't care if they go by your house.
Right. That's true.
Okay, so that's one of the reasons why. I'm not saying I'd ever do anything to the property because it's too small to do anything with. It's not like it could be sold commercial, even though I am in a commercial district.
Right.
There's not enough land there to do anything.
Right.
There was barely enough land to put a septic in,
Yeah.
Right.
because it's small.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I wanted not to be in it, my wife and I, because, we don't want, we get dictated by how we have to do something.
Right. And I think we understand that. I mean,
I'm sure you do. You guys, I've been impressed with the meeting.
Yeah, it's so tough with something like this because it's calling for like an element of trust that
Right.
when you're dealing with a municipality isn't always there, because it is your home and you've got no plans for it and things do change.
Oh.
And so, you know, I think that was one of the things that we were trying to get through earlier is there is no plan to do this, to make any changes whatsoever, but you can't guarantee that. So,
Oh, of course not. Nobody can.
yeah,
So that was the only reasons why, and, you know, so, because I didn't see any, I didn't realize there was any historical value.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
I didn't even realize the state did that.
Yeah, yeah. And it was a long time ago, but you know, we are New England towns, you know, and if we don't protect, you know,
Oh, I
the
get
original settlers and the mark that they left, then it would be a shame. So, you know, they tried to get towns to kind of identify what, you know, what was of quality in their communities and.
Yeah, because I've been in town a long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, even
But,
if you came off
You
this
know,
list.
I still came from Milford, so I'm still,
Oh, yeah.
I'm still not a local.
Oh, my gosh.
But you know, I think I moved like here in 72.
So you just came up for the amusements.
Yeah, well, you know, tell you the truth, I never, ever been to that amusement park.
Oh,
ever
no
in my
kidding.
life.
Wow. Did you go bowling? No, didn't do the go-karts.
Nothing. I
You
did have
missed
the
out.
store across the street, though. Danny's.
There you go.
A store across the street from the
The post
lake?
office.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I had a
Danny's.
variety store there.
Oh, wow.
And now I own Mendon Computer.
You see, the thing now with your house,
That's what
the
you look
thing
for.
now is with your house, as your house gets older, if anybody wants to do anything with it, we have somebody who is significant to the town of Mendon, so we couldn't take it down.
Right?
See? You're significant to the town, the growth of the town.
Okay, so that's the reason that you don't want to take it off.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, reading the macro survey, it sounds like this does have some architectural significance
Yeah.
that I think would justify, you know, it doesn't necessarily stop anything, it just says that it would need to come before demolition delay. You know, I think, I mean, I don't know why that was excluded from the district at the time.
Yeah.
Certainly,
no.
there's no plan. Added to a district would be an individual nomination at your
And that might be
request
something you might want to consider too.
versus,
What would
you know,
the
the town's not gonna do
advantage
it.
be to that?
Just the fact that it could not just be demolished, that it, because it is significant to the town. It's, I mean, and we say about it can't be. Have to
Yeah,
do the whole.
Yeah, you gotta go through the whole process.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and there's a lot more involved than.
yeah.
than
And
what
where
it was.
something like that is, you know, like you say, it's gorgeous, because every time I drive up the street, I see it too.
We do try to take care of it, but if you listen to my wife, we don't.
God. Well, like, you have her call us. We'll talk to her. We'll go
Tell her how
by.
significant you are to the town.
Yes.
So it's a bungalow.
It's a bungalow, yeah.
Okay.
And the house next door to you is also a bungalow as well.
Which one's that? Down the hill?
So, yep, down the hill. So I actually went in,
That kid's a worker.
oh, yeah, nice couple.
Oh,
Nice
they're
couple.
great. He takes care of my yard.
How could you say no, right?
No, I told him, I said, listen, I'm getting older, I don't want to mow the grass, and he says,
So
I'll pay you, just come do it.
Oh, that
He
is
does.
great.
Any project I want to do, he'll come do it.
Oh,
Can you send him over to me?
You have
Oh
the,
my God, you ought to, if you guys someday ask to go in his backyard.
I can't wait.
You can't even imagine. Now, his is 500 feet. All the other ones just meet the field. Feet in.
Wow.
He took one of the old cots that they had up by the North Avenue barn.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
made it into one of those like gypsy wagons.
I think I
It's
heard.
unbelievable. Now he's building a walkway that we'll be able to walk the whole 500 feet back.
Oh, wow,
is that?
that is awesome.
This kid works.
That's where I wanted to park,
and that's-
behind.
Because we're a bungalow.
You're a
You
bungalow
are-
and you're very significant to the town.
Yes.
Not just to the town, but you are on
Is
the
it
map.
type of house it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
who owned it.
Connie said
Because
she
I-
can't hear.
My mic is
Because
working.
I know Taft's was a name
Oh, yeah.
of
Oh, absolutely.
people.
They're working on our end.
So,
Can you not hear us, Connie?
occur, which is what we see up
Aside-
on up on Hartford Ave. No, not Hartford.
Yes,
you hear
that's
us, Connie?
the house
16th
you're
Street.
talking about, right?
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, in a way,
Stand.
the existence of your house supports and protects the existence of the other bunk. Something,
I get
you know, and
Like I said, nobody would want to come in and buy just my lot. It's too small
I would.
to
Well,
do, well, I mean, not to live in, yes.
Right. Well,
And that's
exactly. To see it.
Thank you.
I learned something tonight.
Well,
Excellent.
thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
If we find out anything else, we'll let you know.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. And I think we have people online.
All right.
Give me 1 second just to try and make sure that this is online.
Janice, can you hear me now?
So we should make an official vote.
We've got
Hang on, there's
one,
still a whole bunch more we need to go.
1,
through.
2, 3. We have 4, I think, don't we? 4 more people?
I would like to at least talk about everything on this hearing before we vote
Can we,
on his.
Yeah.
can we just confirm that we're gonna,
Hold
this
on
will
that
stay
one.
on?
I think
Okay. A nice man, huh?
Very nice.
Oh.
The voice keeps going.
And it really is beautiful.
I'm sorry, Janice, we're like speaking into microphones as
Everything
close as we
on
can.
our end works, unfortunately.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but dead zone or something, you know, when you're driving or something, that's what it's like.
I don't know. We're missing a lot of what you're saying, but the mics do not do well when people talk at once.
No.
So that might be part of it.
No, that isn't it. It's different. Hello? Hello? You're gone. You go in and out. I don't know why.
I don't understand. We're connected.
Yeah, maybe it's my phone, but I've just started having these periods of blackouts.
I'll have to complain to World Band. This should be plugged in, though. Why is it not plugged in?
Okay, can some of the other people online, we have Jerry, we have Justin, I only have your, like, first 4 letters of your name. We have Raymond, we have Andrea. Are any of you actually calling in with regard to some of the,
Justin Gemma Kelly, 58 Hartford Ave West.
got you? Okay, thank you, Justin.
Hang on, what do we say? 58 Hartford.
58
West.
Hartford Ave West. Okay, let's see what we have. What do we have on 58?
So we have a date of circa 1920. It is a home that is on the Macris inventory done by the state, and a gable front craftsman is the architecture.
Justin, did you hear that?
Yes, I heard that. It's a little
Okay.
staticky, but
I'm sorry, yeah, we're having
No, it's
issues a
quick.
little bit,
I
but,
think the internet clicked, but I think it's working.
okay, so can I ask what was the determining reason for you not wanting to stay on the inventory list?
because we're going to be doing some renovations, putting a dormer on it to get a second bathroom. Eventually, a few years down the road, we're going to tear down the single car garage and build a 2-car garage. And we don't want to get held up trying to do any of these renovations of the demolition of a single car garage, which is obviously built well after this house was built because it's used to be a carport that was just enclosed. And then there was an addition to the house built in the 91, 92 range from previous owners.
Okay, one of the major issues I can see with this is the fact that it is on Macris.
Yeah.
Which means that the state actually identified it as a significant home in the town. So,
Okay.
in any event, that would be an issue.
Yeah, it distinguishes that, or it signifies that yours is one of the few gable front craftsmen in the community. So I would be inclined to keep it on the list with the reassurance that, in order to get the garage down or to include a dormer, those should not be significant enough to stop you from, moving ahead with, modifications.
Yeah, this isn't really affecting modifications to the property, it's demolition of the property.
Correct. But if that single car garage stops me from the bylaws, later on possibly stopping me from being able to tear it down, to build a 2-car garage to actually make more value to my house, to make it look better more than it already does from what I've done to it already, from when I bought it, I don't want it to impede on being able to do stuff to my house.
Yeah, no, this wouldn't impede on you doing anything, like that. You would just come in, if that's what your plan was to, demolish the garage, we get an application through the building department and we just process it like, we did for, what was it? The very first property that we did tonight.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's a fairly simple process if you're making modifications and changes. But I'm assuming that you're not going to change the entire look of the house.
No, we're not tearing the house down or anything like
Yeah.
that. We're just gonna modify some things to update, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, I think probably one of the guiding lights for us in moving forward on making a determination is because it has been inventoried by the state, and, to remind us that it is something, significant architecturally, and it is also, meets the age criteria, that those are 2 of the demolition delay criteria that we look at out of the 4. So I would recommend that we keep this on the list. Is anybody else
I
for
agree.
discussion?
Yeah.
I'm gonna read the Macris 58. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if there's a way, like, we could put the house on, I mean, unfortunately, it's by property. Otherwise, I would say put the house on the list and exempt the garage now. But I'm not sure that's,
Well, how long does a demolition delay? I mean, if we approve it, if he just comes in and does an approval now,
well, so if
for the January meeting, we can just go ahead and
post a
approve it.
hearing. It'd be just like the last one, it'd be a demolition delay hearing.
Yeah.
So I would suggest, I mean,
And how long is that? He doesn't have to reapply after a year, right? He's got 2 years, 3 years.
This isn't gonna be something done until like the next
But we didn't post this as a hearing to demolish that garage.
So the next 5 years? Okay.
Yes, it'd be like 5 years or after. we would be doing this, the two-car garage part. The dormer on the house is to get the second bathroom. We were just hoping to get going in the spring, summer.
I don't think we can vote on any proposed demolition because that's not what this hearing is for.
Right.
But I think it's going to be a little messy. I think we could vote, I mean, because the inventory is a little bit vague. I think we could vote that the house is on the inventory, that we don't feel that if we are in agreement that we don't feel that garage meets the standard, we're just going to have to remember that when it comes up in 5 years because it's going to be flagged by property.
It would be in the minutes.
Right, but we'll have to, it's going to get flagged in the
minutes.
system, and then we'll have to remember that that was a decision that was made.
Right.
You know, I think that would be a reasonable compromise.
How do you feel about that, Justin?
I'm okay with that. It's just the garage. I just if as long as I don't have an issue getting the garage down eventually.
What it would be is that would be actually in the minutes of this meeting, and the decision when it comes through that the house actually stays on the. We'd like to keep it on the list as it is significant to the town and is on the state macris, and that we would put a note on there that the garage is not significant because it's a later addition, exactly the same as we did at the beginning of the meeting tonight with the previous property where they had a deck that was a later addition. If you're good with that, that works for us.
I'm good with that.
I mean,
Okay.
Then we don't need to spend the money
We
and
don't
do
need
another
to spend
hearing.
it. We don't have to put him through another hearing or
Garage.
anything else. We're good.
And that will automatically go into the system.
So I'm gonna have, I can only flag the property, so
Okay, you
we'll just
can
have to,
flag it,
when
put
it
it
comes
back
up, we'll
on,
have to
yeah.
just remember that that's one that we need to,
Okay.
we'll have
Of course,
to
well, the
pass
other thing
through.
is, of course, that's as far as historic is concerned. I mean, if it went to the building department and the building department had an issue, that's separate from us completely. But as far as this is concerned, historic has no problem. We keep it on the list.
I mean, it'll be in the comment, on the determination letter.
In the
It'll be
comments.
in the
Okay.
comments.
Yep.
So
Okay,
that's one
Justin.
We need to make a note.
That's
of.
perfect. We
Shall
will make a
an
note.
official vote. I move to keep it on the list with the
Yes.
exception of the garage,
Mm-hmm.
which we determine is
A later addition and not
historically
property. Yes,
significant.
yes. Good. Okay.
I would second that.
Second, yeah, everybody, aye, Janice and Connie. I don't know if Connie's still. Yep. Okay. Yeah, we're all there. Okay, perfect.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next one we have is Raymond. Raymond, are you there?
Yes, I'm good. I'm just watching, hearing what's going on.
Oh, okay, so it's not actually regarding one of the properties listed?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I don't think we have anybody else.
I think
do we?
we've covered everyone, and then, so maybe we can just go through the rest of these real quick.
Yep.
Um,
Okay, let's go through the
Do we
rest.
want to just, Ruth O'Grady's on?
Oh, Ruth? Yep.
Good evening, Ruth.
Hi.
Hi. Would you like to discuss 205?
I don't think we should.
I
It's
don't
not,
think
in- it's not,
Well, discuss when we're going to schedule it,
But I don't think
or if
it's,
it's going to be.
no, so I
We
think
don't know if it's gonna be-
205 was the reverse.
yeah,
The woman called me, I spoke with her at length and basically said, well, you submit an application. I put a placeholder on my list, but then they never applied and I didn't notice that. So it made it on our hearing notice, but they never formally applied for removal. So I would
Okay.
table that until such time as an application comes in.
Mhm.
However, I do think, Ruth made some
Yeah.
pretty decent points. I think there'd be a pretty high standard to meet to pull that
Yes,
property
I
off,
agree.
just
Right.
based on its age.
Yep.
Right.
I don't know if Ruth had more comments, I think.
So Ruth, if we get an opportunity to maybe get some grant money for additional surveys in town, we should probably add that to the list
For what?
for property inventories. So once a year in January, the state will provide grant money in order to survey properties in town. So we did the large survey, that included North Ave, Washington, the Center District, but all of these remote properties that are on the outskirts, we've talked about getting them surveyed by the state so that we can kind of understand what we're working with.
Yeah, okay, so what would that involve?
Just calling the state and seeing if they'll give us grant money to they come out and do the surveying.
Would the property owner have to approve?
No.
Oh. Because I think you're going to meet opposition from the property owner.
Yes, you will.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know.
I actually expected them to show up with a lawyer, but I think they just didn't bother. It was a very good conversation, but they were not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they'd show up
Nasty,
with a lawyer, but yeah. I think it's more of a control issue. But no, I mean that house has been in our family at least since the 40s, and my husband and I did everything we could to preserve what we all the woodwork and the outside of the house and everything. We never put siding on it. We always tried to keep it. And now it's been sold to another member of the family who really has could care less whether he tore it down or not. And it's also a control issue, I think. But I would just like to object to it because I think there's not that many of the older houses left down in this area.
Right.
And, this was in a time when Blackstone was part of Mendon. And there's been at least 3 houses down here that have been torn down. And 2 was to replace them with newer buildings. And one had a lot of land and it's been, So, so I would like to see it maintained or not, at least not make it difficult if they wanted to demo it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think if you want to write down your objections, we can keep it on file.
Well, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. You already did. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I've got the original deed. A copy of the original deed and, tax records and things. So.
Yeah, I think this is one of those properties that, we definitely wouldn't have taken off the list.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
no, I think it would have stayed
in
on.
view of the property. So we have more than one reason to.
Right. And, Ruth, because of its significance in, not only that property, but what was across the street and the.
There was a shop across the street, which I think, really before the street was there, I think it was all that property, and it was owned by the Daniels family, originally the land, and it was split up. And the owners of that house are buried in the Pine Hill Cemetery down there.
Oh, are they really? Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have any information, like historical information on the property, like the Daniels? I wonder if Carlton Cox might have some.
What do you mean by information?
Well, like family history.
Well, it was part of Cyrus Daniels, which was, not so much. I'm sure they were all related, but it was part of Cyrus Daniels, and there was the homestead was what is now a Blackstone, and it was taken down a few years ago, and I believe it was rebuilt in Sherburne, the homestead.
Wow.
But this was, it was all land that was divided up for his children. And Leon Daniels was the one that, owned the property that this house was built on. And it was 15.5 acres, which it shows back in the tax records going way, way back. And that's exactly what it was when my parents had it, my grandparents, my husband and I, until we split it off and gave a couple of lots of land to my daughter and my brother.
Yep.
There still should be 11 acres of land there.
Well, we have to go find some information on Cyrus Daniels in the Trip Hammer shop.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he had the Trip Hammer shop or if that was like up on Quizet. There was a shop across the street. And I'm not exactly sure, I can look back on that, but anyway. But there is a
All
lot of history in that area.
I feel like we're going to spend a lot of time in the vault this winter.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's enough history there that.
I think we would agree as well that it's just it's a very unique property and the history of that area.
How did it get put on this list?
So she called and requested and discussed the process. And so I put it on as a placeholder, but then they never formally.
How did it get put on originally? I mean, the age of that house, how did that ever get put on that to be taken off?
Because the owner called to request it. So I put it on as a placeholder, but then she never followed through.
How did they even know it was on that list?
Everybody older than 1950 got a letter.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we sent like 800 letters.
Okay.
That's all.
That was a good one. No, it was like 400. I should be. Yeah. So they all got a letter, and I think so. Hopefully, this is the one push, and then there'll be occasional ones in future years.
Right.
Or we may want to add them. That's probably something we need to look at. Is any of those houses in that same time frame?
Okay.
So can we just run through the rest of these
we should probably
real
go
quick?
through and discuss the others quickly.
So I think
we got to 73
73
Uxbridge Road, 1940.
So how exactly are we going to do this? I mean, are we going to be able to vote on these?
We can vote on anything, yeah.
My recommendation is we spend about 2 minutes to go through each one, and if there's, if it's clear that it shouldn't be on the list, I'd pull it off because it's the right thing to do. And if there's any evidence at all, I'd leave it on the list and call it a day.
Right.
I wouldn't get into a huge.
No, I agree. Yep.
All right.
I mean, I think at this point, they're all older than 75 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually really just boils down
if there's
to
anything,
the research Kathy did. And
yeah.
I think it's only going to be applicable for these first few.
38 Taft Ave.
So this is a cottage across the street from the lake.
So I would recommend that we keep that on the list.
Was built during the Depression, subsequently rebuilt, construction faulty, built on ledge. I'm just reading their comments.
But you think it's worth keeping on the list?
I do, because how many of those properties still exist that are up overlooking the lake?
None.
There aren't too many left.
Right. Okay, we'll keep it.
So that should remain.
33 George Street.
All right, so I would move to keep 73 Uxbridge Road on the list. Second.
Well, why don't we go through and vote them all in one big group at the end now?
Okay.
I think it'd be, because
What
I think.
I've done is I've gone through and I've put all the
Yeah.
ones that we agreed to off, all the ones we
Can
said
we
we could keep, and all the ones that require
Because
discussion.
actually, we don't need to vote on keeping them. We only vote to remove. If we do nothing, they stay.
Can we keep all the ones with the macros that are on their inventory, and that would eliminate a lot of them? Then talk about the rest of them. But if they're on, first keep them.
I would agree. I just
agree.
think
Anything
we
on
should go
matches, I
through
think
them.
we keep.
There's like 5 left. I think we should just go through them one at a time and check them off. That's
Yeah.
all.
All right.
So
58 Pleasant Street, 1840.
hang on. We skipped a bunch.
I'm going to the first. I'm starting at the front now.
Oh, I was just going to keep going to that. Okay, so 58 Pleasant Street. I see no reason to remove that.
Right.
I don't even need to.
Number 5 Washington Street.
Significantly old.
58 is a keep.
Yep.
5 Washington is in the district, so
that's kept anyway.
no benefit to removing it. 22 Kinsley. It is not in Macris. She says it was rebuilt in the 80s. Is it across? Where is 22 Kinsley?
22
It's
Kinsley.
across the lake. So I would
I mean,
hold.
I would. For more review?
I would agree.
Yeah,
Hold for review, okay.
So, well, I would
I would
So-
keep it on the list.
keep it on the list, or do we want to continue that till January meeting?
No, I would just keep it on the list.
Keep it on the list.
Then the next one would be 27 Taft.
27 Taft, yep.
Did we talk
That's
about that one?
1920.
No mattress injury. It's another 4 square. I do think, so, wait a minute. 27 is on the water, right?
27 would be
No.
27 Taft?
Yes, 27 should be on the water.
Yeah.
Did I do 27?
Yeah, you did. At
I
the
see
very
it.
bottom.
It's the, which one is it though? It's the, I don't think this picture might be right.
I bet it's not.
Maybe it is. I don't
Something's
remember.
not
Let me check the
right.
assessors. The only reason to, it would be if it's
It's
different than
38.
28 Taft. So it
We've got
says,
38 Taft.
yeah,
which
but
we're going to keep.
so,
27.
Wait a minute.
so 27 Taft versus 28 Taft. It's the one that's yellow on
Oh, yes.
Google.
No, it's not the yellow one. It's the one to the left of the yellow.
Oh, is there
Property.
another one?
Yeah, the yellow property belongs to the Larsons, the Larson family.
Something is funky here. This is very different in Gene's records. It's got a big chimney out the front. What the hell? Oh, am I going the wrong direction? Oh, okay. Oh, this is the, oh, what the heck happened to the thing? Whose house was this? Sorry, I'm just trying to find it on Google. It doesn't seem, I think it's just behind all the trees.
It is. It's behind the trees.
Okay, then I don't know.
So my recommendation would be keep it on the list, if it comes up, the comment was just no reason, the house needs significant repair. Then we just, cross that bridge with the homeowner when the time comes. Does that make sense? Connie?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Janice, how about you?
Okay.
So it stays on?
Yep.
All right, so I will move, well.
Yeah, we don't need to,
Okay,
yeah.
we're gonna do this all at once.
Well, yeah, and I think I would just vote for the removals at the end and then vote to continue the hearing for certain ones at the end, just to be clear for legal
right.
purposes.
We vote on
I have to.
27, leave it alone.
Yes.
27, just leave it on.
Yeah. And then 4 Cape,
Now, 4 Cape Road, 1920s again.
yeah, and it's that blue stucco house. It's where, that's Slavin.
So.
Oh, yeah.
I've been inside, you look at the photographs of the property prior to being renovated. It's completely stripped out and completely different interior and exterior. So it didn't retain any of its characteristics. So I would say remove it from the list because I just think it's going to be threatened with commercial anyways.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, 4 Cape Road and 9 Cape Road is the other one that's going off there,
Right.
isn't it? Yeah, okay. What about 69 Milford Street?
I don't see that on this list. So hang on, is that one of the screw ups?
1927.
Let me just triple check that that's not one of the ones that I. Oh no, okay.
I do 69 Milford.
69, hang on. Oh. No. So 69 Milford Street was the other one. They expressed that's Determination Inc. They expressed interest, did not formally apply, and I spoke with him, Jason Meehan, and I said, were you going to send it in? And he said, no, we were still reviewing. So I don't think they don't have any intention of tearing that down anytime soon. They just renovated it.
Okay, so we'll
So-
leave it on?
That should remain on the list.
And that was 60.
69 Milford. So that's why it didn't get reviewed.
Okay. So the last one we have is 33 George Street.
Yeah, I have another one too.
So I would,
1940, no
it-
mattress.
it's tough. I
inventory.
don't believe it has any architectural significance. It just meets the date.
Is it something that you think architecturally would be more significant in time or not? Which one's 33?
It's kind of tucked back on the right-hand side.
Going down
Yeah.
by the cemetery?
Mm.
Okay.
So it's an unusual shape to the house. It's got a wraparound porch.
Oh.
And it's been modified.
Okay. It's been changed a lot, hasn't it? So I think it probably, completely removed and rebuilt in 1989. So I would say that it's probably
Let's
off.
just double check. GOR, George.
Yeah. I would say we take it off. Janice,
So then,
33 George Street.
Yeah, I'm just going to look at the picture. I'm having
Okay.
trouble. Everything's dying on me.
Oh, no.
we have one more,
So I
still
was
38.
plugged in one place for the phone and another place for the computer. What was it, 33 George?
33 George.
Okay.
I don't think we talked about it yet because I didn't look at it yet. She wasn't here.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
I have it on.
We did 28 Taft.
No, I have 38.
No, 28 was the
both.
woman that was here. We
Well, it
did-
looks
28
like
was,
30
yeah.
It looks
What do you
like
think,
33
Janice?
Not
And
much.
Connie?
I mean, it looks completely different.
Let's do one.
I mean, to me, it looks like it could be taken off.
Okay. How about you, Connie?
Yes, it could come off.
All right.
Yeah, 38 Taft, I don't think we talked about yet.
We did.
28 Taft.
No, I have, we talked about it at the very beginning. That was like one of the first ones we did. No, after everybody had left. Because 28 Taft has asked to be removed and we said yes. But 38, I have down here Kathy keep. 38 Taft? I
I don't know. Has,
I thought you said-
original cottage with two-story addition in the back, no mattress inventory, circa 1940. I mean, I'm inclined to err on the side of keeping all these houses on the lake, to be honest with you, just because of the
That was the
location.
reason that you said do it.
I just,
But the owners
You were
weren't
not-
here.
the owners were not here, so, I mean,
Okay.
that wasn't necessarily a requirement. I don't know if we want to continue it, but I
Yeah.
don't,
No,
I think, other than the ones that came and strongly advocated for a reason to do more research, I don't think we would need to bother.
see, that was the point I was trying to make earlier. That's why I said, let's do these people that were here, because the first letter, we said you're going to be called and you've got to explain why you want it off. The second letter and the abutters we sent, and we said, you have got to come in and say why you want your property off. If they didn't want to come in and they didn't want to call in, then why are we even considering doing like more review or more discussion or anything?
Sorry, I'm making the list to make sure I got this right.
Make sure we.
So then, do we want to circle back to 55 Kinsley? They did not attend. It's on Kinsley Lane. Do we want to continue that one, or do we want to just leave it on the list and call it a day?
We had, that was one that Kathy wanted to put on hold for more review. But if they didn't come in, why don't we just keep it?
Okay, hold on.
Because if that's the case, that would leave us with 2 properties to be continued and the rest of these to formally vote on. So actually,
These ones don't count. Tell me again what number we're looking at.
so
55 Kinsley Lane. The ones that we had said.
No. I definitely think that we should keep that on.
Right.
so then we shouldn't continue
So
55
we don't
Kinsley.
have to do it with more review?
Well, I wrote down hold on this.
Yeah, hold.
Kathy moved to put a hold on it. So why don't we just confirm it for the next meeting
Which?
on 55 Kinsley Lane?
Versus, well, I guess my question is, why do we even need to, like,
Why do we need to?
just leave it on the
Well, I
list?
think as long as we vote now and it's on record, then we can go ahead.
Right.
All right, so I move to keep 55 Kinsley Lane on the list. Second.
So I'll second.
Everybody, aye?
Aye.
I think, oh, sorry.
Aye. We keep that one.
I think I may have scrambled a tiny bit the process. I think probably the correct thing to do is we're going to vote to continue this hearing for everything until the next date. We have a current list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 properties that we've basically said we want to remove, and 2 that we want to continue to the next date. So I guess it's up to you. I don't know if it's cleaner to wait until we close the hearing next month to do all these, or if we're okay voting on these 10 and sending out those letters and getting them off our desk, and then we just have the 2 more to deal with in January.
I only have 9 to take off. Who's the 10th one? I've got George Street, 9 Cape Road, 20 Bates Street, 44 Milford Street, 58 North Ave, 44 Bellingham, 28 Taft, 14 Hartford Ave West, and 4 Cape Road.
51 Taft. That was the gentleman, the last in-person gentleman we did, the Brown House.
That was 5.
No, that was 5 Milford.
No. There was the gentleman in the back of the room that was here. He said it was a brown wooden house that's on the water on Taft Ave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was 51.
that was 51 Taft.
But I've got double check on that one.
No,
Discussion, double check.
I moved for removal. All were in favor. That's what I wrote down.
On 51 Taft?
Yeah.
You voted for removal?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the one that we think was later too, that I think we just don't have any.
Okay, I'll take that one out. And 55 Kinsley is staying on. So, yeah, so we have 3 to review. that
2.
We're going to forward. 80 Uxbridge Road,
And
38 Cape Road, and 3 Milford.
Oh, well, so I want to talk about those separately. That's a whole new hearing. So this is just from this hearing.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me just make sure I got this down. 80 Uxbridge Road.
80 Uxbridge Road is the gentleman who's very
Yep.
unhappy.
Right.
Get him done.
And I think. we
38
definitely should
Cape
review that
Road.
one.
Well, we need to research that one, and I think,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I will say, so I know him, he's not like BSing us, he's, so
No, I
we just need to double check all our facts.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're
And
crystal
38
clear.
Cape Road, we're keeping, right,
Well,
Road.
we're continuing it to the next hearing to do more research.
38 Cape Road.
I think we need to be
And
very,
what was the third one?
there isn't.
So it's just the
And
2
that's the new
properties.
ones, that's 3 Milford Street, yeah.
So I think the vote on I think, I don't know. if it's better to vote on these removals now or wait. I mean, it would be nice to, even if I mean, it's kind of a weird pseudo, we technically were supposed to have 57 separate hearings, and we kind of posted it as a block.
But I think, can't we vote on the ones that we've already agreed to remove and the ones we've already agreed to keep? And then we can just continue the hearing for those three?
Yeah, so I think we should vote on the removals and then vote on a continuance, and we don't have to vote on keeping.
All right.
They're-
So do you
they're
want
on
me
by
to
default.
make a motion for the houses?
So-
I'll make a motion to remove from the inventory the following properties: 51 Taft Ave, 33 George Street, 9 Cape Road, 20 Bates Street, 44 Milford Street, 58 North Ave, 44 Bellingham Street, 28 Taft Ave, 14 Hartford Ave West, and 4 Cape Road.
I will second.
Okay, can we have a vote on that? Connie, how do you vote on that? Okay, Janice, you're aye?
Wait a minute. Are these the ones to remove?
Yes, the removing from the list.
Okay, follow me.
Janice?
Okay, I assume those are the ones we just talked about, right?
These are the ones that we've just, the addresses I just said are the ones that we can remove. The next ones I'll do are the ones we're going to keep, and then the ones that we're
Well, no.
going to continue.
We don't need to vote on the ones we keep. By taking no action, they stay on the list by
Taking
default.
no action, they stay on the list.
So-
But do we not need to say we're not taking any action on these properties?
Nope, we do nothing.
Why don't we
Well-
just make it an official declaration?
Yeah, fine, that's right. So
Just
let's,
to make sure it's
so let's
recorded
lift,
then. So the
so-
houses that we're going to keep on the list, and by keeping on the list, we're not taking any action and they will remain on the list, are 27 Taft Avenue, 55 Kinsley Lane, 16 Maple Street, 58 Hartford Avenue West, number 5 Milford Street, 205 Providence Street, 38 Taft Ave, 58 Pleasant Street, 5 Washington Street, 22 Kinsley Lane, and 69 Milford Street. All in favour?
Kathy,
Second.
aye, or Dan, second?
Aye. Janice?
Aye.
Connie?
Aye.
Perfect.
Dan, I don't think I voted.
All right. And we have 3 other properties
Two.
that we are going to review
Well,
and
so,
continue the hearing,
yeah, I think the vote is specifically to continue the public hearing
to continue the public
till
hearing.
January 16th at
Yep.
7 PM, same location, for specifically, it's just 80 Uxbridge and 38 Cape, correct?
Yes, and what about the 3 Milford?
So
Street?
I think those are a whole new hearing. That's a whole, we got to post a new hearing, and because we don't have to post this, we just have to post a meeting.
Right.
All that new stuff has to start from day one. So I
Okay.
was gonna wait to talk about those till we close this out,
Yeah,
because they didn't
Alright.
apply.
because
All
I'm
right, I'm
trying
good
to
with that.
understand the time frame on those.
Yeah, so are we good
Okay.
with just these two?
January 16th.
Yeah, the
7
next meeting, the
PM.
public hearing will be January 16th.
So we gotta make,
Continuation.
we gotta make a motion second. So if I made the motion, then
I can't say that.
it doesn't really matter.
Right, second?
And it's 38 Cape, and what's the other one?
80 Uxbridge Road.
Okay.
All right, so Dan,
So
I,
we're gonna do a public
Aye.
hearing on that day again.
so on the 16th, we're gonna reopen the
Aye.
continue, hang on.
Hang on, because I'm confused here.
So now,
Right,
so we voted on this, we're all done with
we're
this.
all done with this.
So now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties that I would like to go through and just confirm. The intention, I think, would be to do a public hearing on the 16th because they have varying reasons that they weren't heard tonight.
Oh, really?
So the first one is 3 Milford Street. So they say they attempted, we have no record of it, so if we want to consider that the application and do it on the 16th,
Yep.
can't hurt. The second one is 65 Uxbridge Road. That is very much a late application. She called the other week. Again, I would say just, it's not, house is 1907, if that matters, but I don't know. If we're already holding a hearing, I don't think we have anything to gain by telling them to wait a year.
Right, no, we don't.
That's just
Except that
punitive.
What do we set as a standard for every time somebody comes to the table and says, oh, I missed everything?
Right. Well, that's how I feel. It's like the people that didn't bother showing up tonight.
Right, I mean,
We've
it's,
got to kind of, we've got to be consistent.
right.
Well, I think,
As
So
this
how
is
do
the
we
first time,
establish consistency in
but
the
as this
process?
is the first time, I think that we do it in January for these ones that Dan said these people have actually got a reason. If anybody else comes up in the meantime, I think we're going to have to say something. Sorry, we sent a letter out in September. We told you we were going to be closing it in November. We gave you until December to do this, and you got 2 letters, you know, we can't keep this open. You're going to have to wait, you're going to have to stay on the list for a year, and in a year's time, then
right.
you can come forward.
And that's how it's mapped out in the bylaw, correct?
Yeah, well, I think
Once a year, we will review.
going forwards, I think the way to do it would be we're not sending any more letters, but to just, we're going to make an announcement and say, we're going to schedule this hearing in 2 months. So if anyone's interested in applying, feel free, and we'll probably have a running list. If people will say, you know, all right, we'll keep you on the list, we'll reach out in October.
Right.
I would say, so I would
Yeah.
agree,
Yeah, I think we've got to be,
but
we've got to be sensible here. We can't be having a meeting every week because someone didn't apply or forgot to or whatever. We gave everybody notice, everybody got notification, and if you're really that worried, I think you should have shown up. That's me.
yeah, no, I would agree, I would close these 5 out.
Right, so the 5 that we have, 3 Milford Street,
65
65
Uxbridge Road.
Uxbridge.
So then-
Relate at.
There are 3 more of them, 155 Hartford Ave East, 29 Providence, and 69 Uxbridge.
29 Providence?
Yep, and 69 Uxbridge. Those are mistakes that they applied, and for whatever reason, we missed them.
Did you hear the royal we again?
Wait a minute.
And I'm sorry, there's one
Did you
more.
hear that? Did you hear the royal we?
All right,
I
so,
didn't make a mistake, did you, Kathy?
I don't think I did, hopefully. All right, so let's walk me through this.
3 Milford Street.
Okay, 3 Milford.
65 Uxbridge Road. 115 Hartford Avenue East.
115 or 15?
155.
155. Got that
Oh,
one.
and this one, why is there no address on this? God, Google. There we go.
Wasn't there one Thornton?
There's one more. No, it's 155 Hartford Ave East,
Yep.
29 Providence, 62 Uxbridge, 65 Uxbridge, 3 Milford, and 80 Millville. That was the other one.
Wait a minute. All right, you've messed me up
Sorry.
here. 3 Milford, 65 Uxbridge,
Yep. 60.
155 Hartford Ave East.
Yep.
29 Providence.
Yep.
63 Uxbridge.
62 Uxbridge.
62. Uxbridge, what was the last one?
The last one is 80 Millville. That was the other one that, and I think there's going to be a debate over how do you define the age of a home. I sent you that whole email with all those comments from the assessor's office. The assessor's records say the house is 1925. They're claiming the house was completely torn down and rebuilt. It sounds like what actually happened is the developer demoed to the foundation, rebuilt on the same foundation, so the age didn't change, and told them he rebuilt the house, kind of a situation.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit of a mess. I mean, it sounds like either way, I don't know if there's anything all that significant, but
And
it technically is on the
that was
list.
done before there was any demo. So with these.
2002. Well,
So if you applied for a building permit and to put up a property, and you could just demo that house and they didn't apply for a demo permit, or they did? And if they did apply for a demo permit, don't you have to take everything down, including the foundation?
I think this is a case where they pulled a permit for $100 of renovations and rebuilt the house and nobody looked into it.
Okay.
Not that extreme, but I think,
Well, we know other people that do
right,
similar.
I think it was one of those. And then I think, unfortunately, I think the residents were sold a bill of goods, and so they're coming to us saying, oh, I have a brand new house, and who knows where the truth is. And it may not matter, because it may not be worth keeping on our inventory anyway, but.
I mean, have you looked at, I can't quite make my brain work here.
Number 80, I thought that was that, isn't that, I thought that was the old house that was on the corner, she went around the corner.
It's, the Google Street View is like a almost looks like a cabin. It's set back. Oh, is it different colored on the side? What the heck? It just looks super dark. Here, I'll look up the assessor's thing. And then we confirmed, so 77 Park Street, they got sent a letter, but it's a new house. It was demoed. It just,
Again, that was
fell.
another one though. He didn't demo the whole house, did he?
Well, according to the assessor's office, it's now a 2022 house. So I don't know what she uses to make that determination.
Yeah, because he didn't demo the whole thing, did he? Kathy, that 77 Park?
Here.
He did.
He took out the foundation and everything?
I don't know if it's here.
I thought he wasn't going to.
No, he saved all the beautiful beams and he sold them.
I was going to say, that was why we kind of said okay, because he was going to mainly renovate rather than.
No, he was going to work in keeping with the barn across the street. The Wiersma barn.
And there is I have nothing.
Stylistically, so it's white, doesn't quite.
Huh. I'm going to drive up and see that one, because
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
So this house on Millville Road, the permit from 2003 is for $30,000 worth of renovations. But the new owners are saying it was completely rebuilt. So I don't, we just need to decide if it's significant or not. Yeah, and so I have nothing on my list for Thornton. I'm just checking again. So I don't know where that came from.
So you sent out something about it, you expect that there might be a demo request for a 29 Thornton.
That was the one I was.
Oh, that was set, so that's different. That, so let's just, so we'll post the hearing for these properties on the 16th. And then that's it. Anything going forwards, it's going to wait a year.
Oh,
I think that Thornton Street is a separate discussion.
this is the Millville Road house.
Yeah.
You know that one?
Definitely not what I pulled up on the assessors.
It's,
You must have hated it.
no, if you go down the road, it looks white from the side. I don't know why, that's what I said too. I don't know if that's a fluke of Google or what. If you go towards Millville. Let's see, yeah, see,
That's not it.
went too far. Here, give me that. Where were you? Go back to where you were and just click the little arrow.
Do that, does it? Once we go back
Cutting
on.
Janice. Are you guys awake?
I don't know. Well, we can.
All right,
that one out.
so Dan, take it from the top. On January 16th, we will be reviewing 28 Taft. Oh, no, wrong one. Wait. Oh my God, this is awful. 155 Hartford Ave East.
Right.
29 Providence Street. 62 Uxbridge Road. 65 Uxbridge Road. 3 Milford Street and 80 Millville
Yeah.
Street. All right.
Maybe you and I can get together and if you want some help doing some work on these.
Yeah. I already started some of the work. I pulled some of the pictures, so.
Let me just look. So the property on Thornton Street was 29 Thornton Street. I got a phone call from a realtor asking about historic demolition delay. So apparently the house has a plaque on it.
Yeah.
I think it does. Is that maybe? I don't know. For some reason, maybe I'm thinking of a different one. Anyway, so she just wanted to know the process. The impression I'm getting is that her client is looking at this as a tear down. But if you look at the listing, well, no, she's not the seller. She's the buyer. They're doing diligence. If you look at the listing, though, it's listed as, a beautiful house, just needs a little bit of work, something like that. So I don't know.
It Seems to me like they had recently done some work in the past couple of years to clean it up, because it's got like a very funky facade, but it's dated.
And she was asking about what can you build there, and I'm like, well, that, you need to call the building department in terms of ZBA and zoning, and, could they add on to it? And I basically said, here's how the process works, and I basically said something to the effect of, the commission does not look kindly upon proposals to just, demolish a house when there's, better alternatives, but.
Yeah.
And she wanted to know if they could apply, and I think I said, well, it needs to be the owner's agent, so if you want to get a purchase and sale contingent on demo delay, sure, but. So I don't know. Yeah, what did I say? The commission generally does not look very favorably upon applications where the intent is to flip and demo the house without first trying to explore alternatives for adaptive reuse, unless it's so far gone it can't be saved. And at least at first glance, this doesn't fit that standard, but it's on the list, so it'll be demo delay when it comes to us, if it comes to us.
It's built in 1800.
I think that's the Rogers. Isn't it the Rogers?
It is, Connie. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
So.
Dan, what's the date on that one? Do you have that handy?
1800 it says on the listing.
1800.
Yeah, I actually believe it might even be earlier than that.
Let me look at if she's got anything else. Yeah.
It's had a lot of work done to it. Externally. This is not an 1800. Oh, that's nice.
The listing didn't make it sound like it was a disaster.
That's not
Oh
a
my
disaster,
God,
it's
look
pretty.
at
The listing made it sound like it was a good house.
Well, they will.
Well, no, sometimes they'll list it as a tear down. This house.
Well, I think it went many years without much work on it, and
Yeah.
it might be nicer inside than the outside.
Oh, it's Robert Mellon.
It's got some nice vintage features. Lynn's got it up on,
Title 5 is blown.
oh no. I guess I'm not.
It originally had about 13 acres with that lot. When William Rogers was living there.
Yeah, it's only 1.3 acres now. They've carved off a lot of it.
Connie, Lynn can send us the link so we can look at the pictures.
Yeah, I can send that to you.
Okay, I'm just looking at it on Google.
All right, so I think that concludes all this. So we still got a few other
Okay,
things
should
we
we
need to
close
touch
the
on.
hearing?
Let's close the hearing and and then I think everything else we can, Right, so, I need a motion to close the hearing at
So moved.
10 o'clock.
Yep.
All right, so the hearing's closed, and I am going to suggest that we continue any old business until our next meeting in January.
Except there's one item that's time sensitive, the budget, which I don't think we can, oh yeah, it's in red, discuss FY24 budget. My recommendation is we just re-up the same thing, the $3,000 and the 500. I don't think we,
What was it?
So our general fund budget, it's 500 for postage and 3,000 for expenses. And then district is the same, 500 for postage. I would just leave it alone. I
Yep,
think,
I think
that's
so.
enough to
Yep.
pay for little things.
I also
We paid for that sign at Founder's Park, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe, well, you showed me that you processed it.
Okay,
so,
then we're good.
yeah.
So then
So I
I'm
gotta
just
go
thinking
pick
of what
that
else
up.
we need to do.
So one of the items that has been discussed, and I don't know if it's something that we can partner with the Brothers of the Brush to do, but so many people have asked, well, actually, Rich was asking, why isn't there a sign for Albeeville? And I'm like, I don't know, because he's like, I had no idea that there was Albeeville or South Milford or, some of these other, areas.
We don't even have signs that denote historic districts.
Right.
Well, we've talked, it devolves into a ton of work, so we just got to pick up a sign and figure it out and pay somebody to install it. Where's Albeeville? Is Millville Road?
Yeah, but even just like a canvas flag, is that something that we can look into similar to these?
I think if you
And
could
you wanna-
identify a single pole that you wanted on, I don't think it would be, I mean, you'd have to, I don't want to speak for the brothers. I don't think it would be a horrible problem to say, hey, we're going to block out this one pole. I mean, maybe if they have more, I think they have enough. I don't think they put flags down there for veterans. So it's not,
No, I don't think they
I don't think
do.
it's a big deal. So those aren't very expensive at all.
No.
Do we want something a little bit more than a canvas flag though? A canvas sign?
I forget what district was looking at now. It just kind of.
I think wasn't the district looking at hard?
We were looking at real signs.
Yeah. So that would be Washington and the center district.
Right.
So I drive through all these towns. I see all these signs up.
We
on
need
my-
to get pricing from a company that can do it and install it and soup to nuts.
And you know what? Maybe that's a nice project to start off the new year.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to get a whole list of what signs we want, get in touch with the sign company, get prices on it, and then we can go and ask for the money, vote on it, and we can well get it done.
Right.
Right. I mean, the problem you run into is the highways. It's the state roads, you run into big problems. You can't just put a sign on 16.
But these aren't.
Right. So these ones we can do. That was where the district stalled out, and we were going to hopefully talk to them as part of this project to see if it could be done
You
then.
could still put a sign at the bottom here.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can't put
just,
on Hastings,
it's just got to be right.
but you can still put a sign here and at the other end.
I mean, it can be done. It's very expensive. You get it, crash proof.
Why don't we-
But
why don't
that's a
we do
good
that?
thing to put on the to-do list.
Right.
And maybe.
We'll look at that and do that in January, and then we can ask for the money.
Yeah.
And get that done. I think that's a good idea.
Well, if it's money outside our budget, we need to ask for it now.
Yeah.